Is that Colin, Kim?
Yes.
Is that right? All right, look, I've got to make this is an interesting thing tube on YouTube. You look up common law courts, genocide.
In Canberra?
Not Canberra, Canada.
Oh, Canberra.
Yeah, well, they call them Aboriginals over there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently there was my mate Gary told me, the one with the Treaty of Innocence, he studied this, and there was a guy in Canada, just a normal dude like us, I suppose, and he talked to the Indigenous people of Canada, and he found the same atrocities happened over there to what happened to Indigenous people here. And yeah, going to people within denial, no one wants to really work for a solution or remedy or whatever. So they create their own common law courts. Right, so and it's working. So from your own common law courts, then you can start handing out your subpoenas, summonses and that. So look, I'm keen. I just found out this last week, so I'm keen to look at this. So it's good. People are working for something, so we've got to go back to the basics. Pre-federation. I always say pre-federation. There's a lot of solutions in the world of equity and law. You've got to really know the difference between what is common law, equity law, is federation, and the whole world of commerce opens up. Now, following that thing, like you're saying, what that Mr. Williams was talking about, we've done a bit of research on that, and we found something very interesting. A bit of history in Victoria. Victoria was being a Melbourne, everyone appreciates their own backyard for history. So Victoria is a very interesting, Melbourne was a very interesting town when it developed. It wasn't officially recognised until 1835. So Sydney was well established, and Sydney was set up on old British Empire principles, you know. But when Melbourne was set up, it was a fledgling town. In 1835, they had this thing in England called the Reform Act. Does anyone know what happened there, the Reform Act? So when England was expanding their colony, the main tool that they had over France and Germany, that was that Settlement Act. That when people were going over to the other colonies, there was the rules of engagement, how to settle that land. It was going back to the English Empire. So that was a Settlement Act that was all out, and it gave power to the royal courts, you know, because the Catholics weren't in the royal courts. So the Catholics weren't allowed to be in English politics at this time. Really well dealt with, you know. That was the whole idea of William the Orange chasing James II into Ireland. You know. So it was a great division between what was Protestant and Catholic. So when Melbourne got developed in 1835, it was Queen Victoria and Lord Melbourne was the Prime Minister of England at the time, Britain. And in 1834, when the Settlement Act, at that time, everyone was dependent on the barons on the land for their livelihood. So that's why they could be really cruel, the barons. They were throwing in the kids in the gas mines and coffee mills. You know, they were really cruel to their own people because they didn't have municipal councils in those days. They were kind of the barons that had they were like the law of the land. But when everyone was coming over the colonies, there was a new influx of wealth coming in. It wasn't just hereditary peers, you know. So a lot of money was coming back here, especially coming from the tobacco industry and all the stuff that was coming discovered out of Africa and even England, you know. So these people could buy new peerages. So in the Reform Act, they created they had to extend the House of Lords, but you could buy your way into the House of Lords instead of just having hereditary peers. And at the same time, through Earl Grey and Lord Melbourne, which was kind of like a socialist point of view, they started throwing up those things for municipal councils. So they had a different body of community jurisdiction away from the laws and the barons of the old feudal system. So Melbourne was built up on that. So when they had the Eureka Stockade, right, and they got went to court, they didn't have this Reform Act in England, they probably would have got hanged, but because they had a social change, they were found not guilty. And so what I'm saying here, Melbourne was a city that was built upon this new social change. Yeah? Unlike Sydney, Sydney was still based in the old heritage peerage. But Melbourne was built with this new social peerage. And sure, they were sending convicts over to England, Melbourne, but they didn't expect them to find all this gold. Right? Hallelujah, it was Eureka. I mean, they reckon the amount of gold that came out of Bendigo and Ballarat was like 6,000 tonne of gold, you know. Railway line, straight poured out. They got this beautiful cathedral in Bendigo. They've got stonemasons from Italy to come out and build this beautiful cathedral. And someone told me that Bendigo parish, Catholic parish, is a Catholic one. It's the third most wealthiest parish in the Vatican. The Vatican first, another one in Bendigo. The amount of gold that came out. You know.
Like the ship, you know, the police station there. The ship.
Yeah. A lot of money in Bendigo. And Ballarat. Oh, well, gold money. But what happened, when Australia was first colonised and so did America, or the cotton settlement, the land asset, all the Commonwealth made money from land asset back. So you had to have the title to the land, and mostly in Australia was all sheep, and all that currency was coming back, or timber, whatever, you know. But when they came in and found the gold, it was Sir Robert Peel was the became Prime Minister of England, Britain. He overdone Melbourne, and Sir Robert Peel had this Freemasonry mentality, not so much this whole Anglican one, you know. So they found all this gold. So they brought it back and they had to create this new exchange from land-backed assets to a gold-backed asset. And it gave so much more power to this Freemasonry growth in England. This was about 1830s. And also what was coming out of China with this opium trade.
Gold went that far back in Melbourne.
Oh, well, it was a bit later, the opium trade, yeah. But I'm just saying this period of time, right? And they're bringing opium back from China, and they're bringing all these esoteric books around, like chakras and all these occult kind of stuff coming up, you know what I mean? This really gave the power to the Freemasons, gold, opium, esoteric knowledge. It got away from Christianity and all the Golden Dawn, the Rosicrucians and all that sort of stuff. Right? But on the context of here, we found this thing that when Melbourne was, the gold rush was going on, it only really went for about 6 years. And so all these banks were established to trade through the gold. And then I've got a friend nearby, he owns an old colonial bank. And the colonial bank of Australasia was the first bank in Victoria that was actually an Australian bank. The other banks came from overseas, you know. All the investors. The colonial bank was the first Australian bank. And when they set up its bank, it was trading through gold. Everyone was bringing in there and gold and all. But that only went for about 6 years. And then what happened, when the gold was no longer viable, and Melbourne was starting to expand, they had to find a new way for people to exchange money. So a lot of farmers, it was mainly coming around Hamilton way, the banks couldn't loan money on chattels like sheep or cows because there wasn't a security enough, you know. So the banks around Hamilton, which is on the border of South Australia and Victoria, they wanted to borrow money against their estate, the title estate. But then the Crown come in and says that's against the law. You're not allowed to borrow money against your title because you do not own it. You're not allowed to borrow money against your estate because you do not own the estate to borrow. But in Melbourne, so we had to find this new currency. No one's going to borrow it, lend money against capital receipts, but they will lend money against the title of the state. Now, I must note that when the colonial banks, I'll read this out some. Here we had, I want to put this out in the steps because it's very important to know. So the colonial bank, from memory, was established in 1852, I think it was. Right. So this is in 1859, the Privy Council, this is the Privy Council rule, through the courts.
Sorry, was that the first bank in Victoria?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
grown out of Victoria.
Yeah.
There was other banks there, but there were overseas interests coming and set up.
Yeah, I was just thinking of, Bank of New South Wales.
Yeah. The Colonial Bank in 1852, and about a year later, the National Bank started. Practically on the same charter, set up. This was money for the gold diggings of the Catholics. And this National Bank was set up by a Scotsman, I can't remember his name, very intelligent. I've read the whole history of it. But they were very similar. Down about 1920s, I think the Colonial Bank closed and the National Bank absorbed the whole charter into theirs. But the Privy Council created this thing called the National. So it'd be really good to write this down. National Bank Act. Of Incorporation. Of 1859. So this is kind of like 5 years before the American Civil War, okay? So that was passed by the Parliament of Victoria and South Australia, limited the liability of the shareholders if the bank were to collapse, and gave the bank power to sue and be sued. In return for these privileges of the bank, had to follow the rules of safe banking that the Imperial Government had impressed on its Parliament. So this is the Imperial Government telling the Parliament in Clause 7, Clause 7 of the Act, allow the bank to acquire land and buildings as office or in liquidation of the customer's debt, but expressly prohibited the bank from advancing money in anticipation of expecting and receiving title deeds of land as security for a loan. So it's against the law to put your title deed for a loan. That's what we're doing. So the Parliament at the time ignored it because the gold was no longer viable. It's gone. They had to find a new exchange. So the Parliament broke the law.
Which act was that?
National Bank Act of Incorporation, Clause 7. This is judicial. It's not parliamentary. This is not statute law. This is imperial law. So technically, you are not allowed to receive title deeds as land because no one owns the title. We're all tenant of it. We haven't even got a right to sell it. There is a tenant of it. So by the 1950s, opinions that trading banks should lend on land and securities in defiance of the British Act, the parliaments were willing to close their eyes to the prohibition because, of course, the capital was vital to the development of the colonies. So what he said, the line, they had the line to develop because they had to create this new currency exchange.
Yeah, but why wasn't there a war over it? That's interesting.
Well, again, not many people know this. I suppose I'm only assuming back in Melbourne in 1855, most of them were ex-Irish potato diggers coming over and fuck this, I'm finding gold. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't an exciting place in Melbourne to build a lot of work, you're getting away from the old time, and most people don't know this exists. I mean, what's going on now? Most people don't know what conversation we're having, you know. We've got water world around here, and
Yeah, I mean, in
football.
those days, I mean, you know, if the British, you know, their titles are being leaned on, having a loan against them.
Yeah, well, let me finish this. Yeah, I mean, this is the beauty of it. This is the difference between the law and legislation. The National Bank made a step firmly to define, the National Bank was the first one to step firmly to defy the Charter because of the problem creating economies that did not hinge on gold. Within a few years, the title deeds of land had become a normal security. So they've broken the law. They made a normal security while breaking the law. But this is the Parliament legislation, not the Imperial Crown. It's not a strict legitimate banking operation. That's what Mr. Werner's saying, isn't it? Lending on land accelerated after 1864. This is when Civil War was going on. So you can see that this sort of energy was going right around the colonies. So and that's just why in the movie of Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln said, I had to break the law to create the war. So they did have a war over it. Not in Australia. Because America was a republic and they weren't tied to the imperial head. So he had to break the law, and the law he had to break was property law, and the property law was to free the American Negro slaves from the ledger of the person who's got the plantation. Because they needed to create new security. Land was not so securitized. I suppose gold was lost as security, so they needed slave labour in the workforce to be the security, I think. Citizens. But this is interesting stuff. The Parliament, so in Victoria, the Parliament passed, the way they got it through, they created the company statute. They let the banks become companies, registered under the state legislation. That gave new Victorian banks which registered under that statute all the privileges that the older banks had gained from the charters of Special Acts of Parliament, a right to regulate their own lending, free from prohibition imposed by the existing banks, and took advantage to lend money legally on security buildings. The Ballarat Banking Company, which was absorbed by the National Bank, was the first to specialise in the financing for the farmer. So basically, he was saying they were making their own money out of nothing. But this is the same with the Royal Commission. Here they're bashing into the banks and the Royal Commission, but they couldn't do it unless it was legislated by the parliaments to do it.
They were creating the money then. Who were the shareholders?
Well, whoever agreed with it to be part of that bank, I suppose. Because I should imagine, I don't know, I should imagine that most of the people in Melbourne, being convicts, being Irish and Scot, couldn't give a fuck about the British Head Act anyway.
Correct.
I'm willing to be a stop there. Must have been the Utopia for
Well,
it.
the Kelly stuff was the same. They wanted to set up an Irish Free State.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to picture in my mind setting up a bank under British dominion, and we created the money.
Well, this is why I say Melbourne was very unique, because it was like,
I mean,
Melbourne wasn't, there's a difference between Melbourne and Sydney at the same time. Sydney was really tied up to the old principles,
Yeah.
I was saying, yeah. So Melbourne was this new frontier at the time, with all this gold.
And had the Irish and the Scots.
Gold wasn't on the register because they only had land, right? So, you know, it must have been amazing. So people coming in,
Oh yeah.
hallelujah, it's like California, you know. But it's interesting fact that the older banks, charters of acts of corporations could not specialise in this financing. As late as 1869, the Law Courts of Australia and Privy Council were instilling a modicum of confidence into those banks which would not register under the company statute. Now, when we mate Brett, he's got this colonial bank, And inside the bank it's got a vault. So the vault's are beautiful because the government can't interfere with interactions within the vault. Alright? And because, and he lives in this bank now. Yeah, he's a cool dude. I won't mention so much to people, but he brought the bank, he's doing it all up. I'm a good mate of his, so we come and we found his charter. And because he's got the estate of fee simple, and because from his estate of fee simple, all this is now part of his tenure, see? Right? So we can go back, when we set up our, and met Brett, we've got a few of us, the merchant, the guy who does the merchant banking is really loving it, wants to create a new platform. We're really keen to create a blockchain platform through this National Bank Act and Corporation Clause 7, which exposes the fact that all those banks are doing fraud.
Fantastic.
We respect the British Imperial Edict because it comes from the Privy Council, the modicum of confidence. Because right now, like my friend, who's the merchant banker, so we're kind of talking what's happening under the corruption. The students are working on top of the corruption. So he was you know, he's an amazing guy when he talks. He can make money out of selling flies up a wall, you know what I mean? It's just crazy what he's got. But what's happening in all those big merchant bankers, they've lost confidence. You know, it's a world put up, especially with this trade war between China and America. Nothing's certain in that world no more. So this is why this guy's come out. He's a mathematician, really. He's a brilliant mathematician. It's amazing how he can set all this up and does it, and everything onto computer, sets up the whole computer, pressing all these buttons. Rob's over there pressing all these buttons. All, you know, whole conversations on this, you know what I mean? So you could talk to the guy on camera or Zimbabwe or whatever. And I'm just going, wow. So another guy's a financial advisor. I know he's the one who's got clients up to $90 million. He's finding out that this Greek guy, Greg's talking to me. He goes, why is he talking to you, Ross? Good question. Yeah, I'm wondering that too. I don't know much about it at the moment, but he's talking to me because he wants to know how to ground this into something gravitas and something certain in law. So this is really interesting history because what he's saying is true, eh? So everyone knows what's the lie, but where is the real trading truth is? So this National Bank Act of Incorporation, 1859, Clause 7, it tells by the law of the land, this land here, it still exists when the law in the courts, you are not allowed to put securities against your title deeds. And then the state government's legislated against the law. The only way you're going to get money in our government if you put the title deeds up for security. So where do you go? Well, you got to go to law, right? You have to respect the law, not the legislation. Because it'd be interesting to find that Company Statute Act, did it get an assent by the Crown? Because a lot of these legislation haven't been assented by the Crown. Certainly native title consent determination hasn't been assented by the Crown. They're just passing legislation because it's convenience.
It's not law anyway.
Not law. So this is the beauty of going into the history of law. Because so this is what happened 1859. This is about 4 years before the American Civil War. I think that finished in 61. And an interesting thing.
1861, 1961.
Was it? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So 6 years later, out comes this new Federal Company Statute Act. Comes into Australia 35 years later, Federation. So we don't know. So that's the beauty of the state of fee simple. In the tenure, we can represent this whole colonial bank. And it's a building there, and there's a vault.
Yeah.
So I've got a contract with Brett. And every time we go and work into a lease, I've leased the vault. It's costing me a bottle of red wine every time I'm meeting, and I've got to drink half of it with it.
In the vault.
You've only got to put one piece of gold in there.
No, we gave him a dollar, we gave him the peppercorn, we gave him the trade, but that's mine. And he's a laid back cool dude. He actually, you know, he works with the army, or he has civil contracts with the army as a map maker, cartographer. So he's got a great cosmopolitan on what's going on. He's not a fool. You know, fortunately, people come to the workshop. They're not. I don't talk to fools, you know, and they appreciate that these facts of law exist. So we put this back to the QC. This is the foundational law that we want to set this treaty of innocence on when it comes to some, you know, corporate arsehole barrister lawyers in the commercial. He wants to suck us, our interest into theirs because of some legislation or whatever. So you might have it, but your legislation's breaking fucking law, mate. We're not in America, we're in Australia. We're a monarchy, dude, we're not a republic. We didn't have a civil war. But to bring all the civil war influences over to Australia, still we're sick of this. And we're going to create a modicum conference that everyone's titles can come back onto that, and then everything what he says, you prove it if there's a loan or there's a security or promissory note or whatever, you can open it up. As long as you've got an anchor of where your law exists.
So you're looking at taking title out of their system and storing it in your vault?
No, not involved.
What goes in the vault?
A bottle of red wine, just a USB disk, really.
Yeah, right.
Because the whole thing is with law, with English common law, there has to be a resident, there has to be an address. You know, your identification has to be the res. So does anyone know what the res is?
Yeah, the thing that's
No, that's the rem. There's a difference between the rem and the res.
Yeah.
So everyone got that down? That's very important, right?
We found that last thing.
Is the res is the wealth of the Commonwealth?
No, it's kind of like put in mind, you've got the right, everything that's yours now is called a right and rent, okay? Let's give everything that's in law is a right and rent. Now you have a right and rent. From that right and rent you have something called an inter vivos, which means choice and action. Chose and action. So you can choose what you as an Englishman, free will, can choose what you want to do with your life. Right? You choose an action. So you can choose through an invitation if you want to join a society. All right, this is another thing too. All right. Another good thing to read in all this is called equity and redemption. You can get this on Treatise. It's a really good story. How do you redeem an equity? Equity and redemption. So people that, and all these rights and ran interview, it's not positive laws, it's only your natural rights. So if you put your coat of arms, is your natural right to create your own coat of arms. That's a right of them. So all of a sudden, you're in a language that's not on their register of debt. So when you create something, you've got to create something that's not in their language. It's pretty good. Okay? So you, through your choice and action, you can enter any society that you want. So you can become a Mormon, Jehovah's Witness, Hell's Angels, it's your choice. That's huh? Well, indeed, most of them are. Is there a right of assembly, you know?
Freemasons,
Yeah,
Albert Pike's book, Morals and Dogma of the Scottish
Yeah,
Rite,
how
page
come
321, they've got a Freemasonry solicitor.
That's it.
yeah, well,
How come those Cameron Newman bikie gang laws didn't apply to the Freemasons or the...
Because they're in substance, these are only acting to persons. It's legislation.
well,
They don't
Free,
know the difference.
I'm quite sure
Yeah, okay.
Freemasons work with the right. Go on, you might see it when you go and talk to their lawyers on this rank. This is imperial stuff, it's not Queensland citizen or outlaw. The outlaws away from citizens, so that goes in the right to hit the bastards because they're not registered. Or not registered that's accessible to be registered, that's why the whole drug stuff is. So it's really important that when you do register, you are connected to the government through rule of law. Do you know what I mean? Instead of doing offshore stuff. So what we're doing, no, we're not running from you government, we're actually coming in and we're going to disclose the fact that you're being run by foreign principles, not connected to the law. So if you, when you put all your assets together in choose of action, by law it's called a CSD, KV trust.
Is that a KB?
Well, that would be CK trust or society. You create your own society, but you're basically starting to join your assets. So you're accumulating, appropriating your assets. Then all of a sudden your rights called a Justin rem. As a collective, all your assets become a Justin rem, justified rem. Short remedy. So you can start remifying your financial position once you've got your ledger together. But until you've got a group that you've got a ledger against another interest, you just divide and conquer, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can create your own financial property society, something like that, do you know what I mean? So that's what we want to set up with the Treaty of Innocence. People come on. Sort of people just want to put their coat on, they don't know, they just want to give from their home. Down the track, if you've got someone who's got a lot of assets, you want to get on. So we've got one bloke, this guy Gary, his sister works and runs gold mines. So we're talking some big dudes. You put your assets over on him. When you get, you might just get Joe Blow, the most humble person, or Indigenous bloke, no one sees he's got much assets, except an Aboriginal who's got 200 square miles of land. And all of a sudden, that weight of assets on our books and like the solicitors is representing the mining interests. And this is where we've got the weight of the argument. But we're going to go through that modicum conference. Actually, your titles on our deeds, you can have a, listen to Mr. Werner, he can explain it better than anyone. And if we do that, tell Mr. Werner, would he like to put his name on it? Yeah?
Yeah.
So by the doctrine, so when you're doing it and you're actually starting to add yourself up, the doctrine is add sum excuse my Latin, add opus sum. Always throw that in, upset the old corporate lawyer. And that by he adds opus sum, the landowner can convey his equitable rights to have profit and enjoyment of his lands. Now if you've got a mortgage, you can still do this, right? And if you've got a mortgage, because these guys have got an illegal interest on the land, and the legal one, but you have an equitable right to have another interest on the land. And if you come onto this Sesky Trust book, one of the laws are we have to inform all the other people who've got lands on the property that we know exist. So that means if they come and foreclose on you, you've got to foreclose on them as well. They can't foreclose on you while we still got an interest on you, on that title. Does that make sense? You can, while you've got all these liens on your property and you don't know the pricks putting liens on them, well, you can put a lien on your property with awareness.
Put a lien on your property with a what?
With an awareness. So all these attorney generals, you know, it's like the native title consent determination. One happened in Victoria when it came in. It came in after Queensland. Queensland was the first one that they let it in. And in Victoria they came in, the Attorney General, you can see him when he was, they had a photo of the Attorney General of Victoria at the time, signing off this undetermined consent determination as a lien to all the state parks around Victoria there. You can see him signing off and he was like, he had this smug smile on his face, but it was like, he knows he's breaking the law at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
They're all like that.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm sitting going, fuck man, you're just going to create an amazing headache for the people of this country, state. And you little prick got the authority because you're Attorney General. So he's the one that's got to, and his job is to make sure that the state legislation doesn't go out of part of the law of the land.
The whole lot's full there.
Yeah, well, there it is.
Which
Well,
means it's void. It's actually void.
well, you got to prove that it is.
You can, that's not hard to do.
Okay.
They're foreigners.
Huh?
They're foreigners. What are they doing in Australia? They're working under foreign interests.
Yeah, I totally know that, mate. But the process to do, they're doing it. There's a lot of frauds on it. The process one of the processes that you have to create something that's not part of their principles and precepts of finance. So this corruption says keep going on like a balloon that doesn't burst. So as I said before, the way,
So the right and rem is the remedy.
right,
I love it.
well, and remember,
Remember, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so you go back to history. Yeah.
so the question was the right and res, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So just so you've got this society trust under some, just so everyone agrees with the Treaty of Innocence, no. Everyone's there, we'll put the books on there, we'll do all the paperwork, we can do all that. Then we have a right, who we want to work with. Well, that's the right and res. We have a right who we reserve our interest to. Right? So when it comes to the Crown, there's a lot of officers in the Crown. So if you reserve the Crown through, and we're still discussing this, where do we actually want to land this and under some exchange? We don't want to go into exchange and we've got another bunch of dodgy dudes. But whoever we want to exchange to, that's our right and res. And we're allowed to have the adjudication of that. So the right and res is which adjudication do you go to. So just say we do the right and res and we deal with a certain branch, and we want it back against the sterling pound because the imperial edict of sterling pound back, all that happening back in the colonial banking stuff. There was all sterling pound notes, right? Preferred, the dollar didn't come in 1966. It was part of the United Nations trading deal, so we don't need to go back into that. So just so we deal with an interest, and we're thinking in London somewhere, but they start playing funny buggers with it. Well, we've got to make sure that there is an adjudication court that can help us appeal to that, and that's the right and res.
That would be outside the city of London.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, no, the city of London, we all know, so, yeah, it's its own province within itself, but outside the rules. So that's that corporations. No, we'll deep down, we'll go. There was old King College was the original king of Britain before the Saxons came. So this letterhead here that we put on, Jeff, and he's a banking financial whiz dude. He's an interesting cat. We've got all that Latin up the top there, Constabularis, Castro Nostri Development, Magister Opera and Nostrarum. Well, that's a right and res office, but that goes back to a Welsh palace. So deliberately put in his seal the language of Gaelic, because that's the original law of Britain. Not Normandy, it's not French, not Teutonic. So that's on the tenure. But it's interesting with this constabulary office, it's very high up in the aristocrats. You know, when the king, it's a bit of history, when the king, his main two offices when it comes to war was the constable and the marshal office. So the marshal's jobs, while the king in those days, we had to get all the families to rally, there was no government conscription. So I'm king, I'm your lords and vassals of the kingdom, I'm saying, right, I need the troops and all that, and the marshals making sure that you all turn up to the war, right?
Marshal together.
Marshal, and if you die on the battlefield, and that's why they all wore their colours, they die on the battlefield, so they'll mark, well they didn't, they tell the people who died, you know what I mean? So that was the marshal's job. The constable's job was to make sure he gets the war treasury ready. It was the financer. So a very high office, but he's a Welsh constable. So there's another thing in here. If you find, when it comes to creating all this, and it comes to that sort of office, and there's this place there when you go to court and you realise shit we've been exposed, all the colonial government's been exposed because they've been leaning, making money out of title deeds when they're breaking the law and they don't know what to do. You don't expect them to have a solution when they're full of corruption. Well, that's called a Bona Bank and Pay. Interesting doctrine. Something's vacant. And while it's vacant, we can bona fide the vacancy. And that's when you get into something with the treasury. So basically we can create our own treasury accountancy, because that's all gone. We're making specific performance, we're making money out of our arse like the bankers do in 20 cents. But the whole thing is it's got to be on record. We've got to do it, don't expect someone else to do it. But we've got to prove that our money holding that we've done through the agreement, everyone knows, is there to replace this corruption that's been going for 104 years. That's the right remedy.
What about creating own currency issues and credit?
Well, this is where, I'm keen for you to meet the merchant banker. Because he's already got this other currency coming out called Cosmos Coin. So he knows all about cryptocurrency and all that. He knows about Bitcoin. You've got to have the blockchain in cryptocurrency. You know? So, look, you show me, making cryptocurrency, you make it out of jelly beans and everyone agrees. So, mate. But no, he's told me we can do this on the VIF gauge. We don't have debt. Well, there's no mortgages. VIF gauge. Forward pledging. So yeah, he's full of bouncing beans. He's got all that set up. That's why he keeps ringing me up 3 times a week. And he's got some serious big investors on the other side of it. Huge. And when he tells me, oh, but this guy's got $2 billion worth of bills of lading rights, No, he got a photo of some ruby there with $2 billion, mate. Geez, I'm just going to scratch and get $50 to get some petrol up the mountain, mate. Different world to me, you know?
Isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, I'm on the phone, mate, I get you started. And I'm talking and all these people ringing him up, I'm talking, come on, Russell, I'm going up to Brisbane, mate, I'm going up to North, talking to these people. Because the big thing is, nothing can happen until we agree to do it. It's all about agreement. Right? And if we don't have agree, as far as the government, we're satisfied in the government's point of view. Same. You know, cricket's starting soon. You know, get up, and then football starts and horse racing, it's the same cycle.
What's the tally?
What's the tally? It's all programmed, betting, keep it away from the virtues of life, promoting vices. Everyone's satisfied, more money. you know, and we all know that. So that's what we're talking. What's something substantial that sits in your own heart and sits in your own belly? That's the power of common law. Because everything I'm telling you is already written in history. So when I'm reading this, I think it's beautiful that my ancestors have written this wisdom down so I can share it with you guys. So let's not piss on our own ancestors, you know.
So you're talking about like pledging the state into a trust as such.
Yeah, it will be a type of trust, yeah.
So how does that work when someone's putting a $2 million ruby in and someone's only got 20 cents to scratch together?
Well, it's the shared dividends comes back. That depends on, you know, you put so much in, you get shared back from what you put in.
Yeah,
Oh,
pro rata.
Yeah, pro rata.
A bit like Alaska with their oil, they share the dividends amongst the population.
Yeah.
But that's probably not the goal. The goal is to protect our rights in rem.
At this present, yeah. When you say that, I'm not a banker, I don't know that. So you mate Jeff and Greg, they can have that sort of provision answers.
Sure, you get it as trust certificate units, wouldn't you?
Yeah, certificates, that's the one. He's got that all set up. You have to ask him all any details on that sort of side. I'm here just showing him how to gravitate it, how we can create a group together. My personal one is the art journal. Still obviously she can come today. So for myself, I'm more into helping the teenage kids or people out there, and I want to say that you've still got a future in front of you, but you've got to recompose yourself as a spirit being. Because intuitively, you know that shit, nothing's offered to the next generation out there. They don't know it.
Not in their system.
Not in their system, nothing at all. So I've done art journal workshops into mental health, suicide issues, and I'll kick the ass, I'll say, just by drawing. I used to get kids coming in, they're all, not so kids, not so 30, 40-year-olds, you know. And they come in through the doors and they're saying they're schizophrenics, you know. So mate, I reckon you're an undisciplined clairvoyant, you've got your shit together, we'd be paying $80 an hour for the spiritual reading, mate, you know.
9 men a week committing suicide because of this government.
Yeah.
I tried committing suicide. Back of that, I nearly killed myself.
Good on you, Dallas.
An alternative economy.
I'm so glad you couldn't
Public
make it.
It's just, no one's doing it.
No.
Time I'm seeing it. Not in a big way, I think. There are lots of individuals doing it, but really people should collaborate and work together so that you can create economies of success.
Absolutely.
So I've done this, the power of the architect, power of the archetype. I'll just a bit of my history on this. What is the one thing, how do you get people to agree? Right? Now I've done this art exhibition back in 2001, and I've done with an Aboriginal elder woman, and her niece committed suicide, but she was carrying this journal around of all her stories about her pain, and her pain was that she sat in Uluru on some rock, and the spirit came out of Uluru, put all man black robe and caught her mother's servants on. So she was, you know, for some people it's clairvoyancy. For Aboriginals, that's quite natural. I get spirit stories from them. But she also had a history with postnatal depression. You know, she had so she wasn't stuck out. But anyway, cut a long story short, she ended up committing suicide. So her auntie gave me this art journal, and if I was to bring all the stories and words out, the whole journal would cover all the court. And so my auntie wanted me to make the story go on. So the whole thing is, then I've got 11 Aboriginal women, 11 white women, and they all looked at the journal and gave them a canvas each. And they got stories from the journal, and they extended her story onto this, their own art piece canvas. And we created, this is before mental health become the state political agenda. This is man, and I had no money. Next you know, I had all this wall be filled up with all this beautiful artwork. It was amazing how many colours were there. The oldest one was 72, the youngest one was 16, black and white. And they all painted, but the one thing is that they all painted under the banner of Mum Serpent's on it. The reason being, there was an archetype that they were painting for. They weren't painting for themselves, they weren't painting for only Mona's ego, there was a dream for Mum Serpent's on it. And I've got these people to come together and done it. And I went up to Bendigo City Council, and these guys have been paying a lot of money for stuff with Aboriginal people. And they said, how did you get the Aboriginal people to do something with white people? And basically I said to them, I asked them. But the real power was this spiritual archetype. So this is where, when I put down the Treaty of Innocence, this gave me the key. So I'm keen to get, if everyone wants to get part of the Treaty of Innocence and we crank this Trust Society, the depthness of that is part of it. Most people won't put their heads to this because it's it required intelligence to do it. But like I said, if I get Indigenous people paint their coat of arms with your coat of arms, because they have land issues, they have land, it always goes back to land. And they can share the Treaty of Innocence, that's us, which are your land with our bona fide treasury interests. But if you've got the Aboriginals on it, then anything you do with Aboriginal politics. But how do you get people to agree on the one platform? We got something very old, very ancient called the Treaty of Innocence. It goes back, what is that, the 600s something. So the story of the treaty is, as I said, is when the Celts came up. When I first moved into Pict lands, there was a lot of warfare about who had the right to colonise. Ione was set up, and then so it was through King Collis, the Celtic king, who went to the chieftains of the Picts, and they sold his Treaty of Innocence that when we fight, the women and children don't get murdered, slaughtered in war. So the Picts signed it, but that treaty was the first documentation of unity. So that's fact.
That's so.
It's big. So this is why we go to the bishop's office. You get the bishop's seal and the premier and say, well, we're not going to put the Treaty of Innocence on your vanity of office. We're just moving your office as a post office to go into the Court of Faculties, which is St Paul's, and moving through the Palace of Lambeth, which is where the bishop's authority is. And then we can open up this whole Celtic Christian history thing. But the beauty, we go through these bishops' office, and they've got an administration that pushes right around the Commonwealth. We haven't got an administration to do that.
That's leverage.
Can you see the strategy of that? Yeah. So if you put your assets, if you put your estate fee simple connected to this treaty, if someone's got a lien on this property, well, the first thing you tell them, well, I've got a Treaty of Innocence, equitable interest on this property. They can't close down on you while this thing's still alive.
First in line, first in time.
This is very Treaty of Innocence. But also, if you've got any corporation who wants to take on a treaty about women and children don't get murdered in war, you've got a pretty big, powerful emotional body to take that on, do you? Right? Because we're just open up, you only got a small charter shit here, we've got smart ass lawyers behind it. And then apparently you're fucking up the environment while you're doing it. That's a disclosure, so this is our side of the defence. We're not industry, apparently you're not connected to the law only because some bullshit contract that Malcolm Turnbull's signed off or whatever, you know, he's been kicked out of court, out of Parliament. So we've got to stop this corruption in Parliament, you know. Bill Shorten's coming, God knows what fucking monsters that prick's going to bring in. No? Yeah, there is one sick little psychopath lapdog of the world that guy's.
Oh, no, all the same.
It's getting worse though.
Well, how's
It's getting lower. Bill Shorten, you can believe it.
Have you read the Fabian speech of Bob Hawke in 1986? It's
Oh.
absolutely
Yeah, famous.
repugnant.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it myself. I thought, am I having a dream?
Mm-hmm.
a drunk against the PM? We got a good hope.
Yeah.
Drunken pedophile.
Yeah.
That's why he's
Yeah, the Fabian Society's not wouldn't be welcoming this.
But that's who all these Shorten and all of them pledge their heart and souls to the
Yeah.
Fabian Society.
Yeah.
They do it behind closed doors. We don't know that.
Yeah.
every Prime Minister since Gough Whitlam, who was Fabius Maximus, is a Fabian.
Yeah.
And of course, the trick is that so are the Liberals. It's one club.
Mm.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you vote for the left wing, the right wing, or the tailhead, it's still the same bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
That speech was in 1984, wasn't it?
1986.
1986,
Yeah.
Often one party does the damage, the other one tries to trouble.
Yeah.
It brings in preconditions so that when they go out, they can continue the program, but they work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's something in law about whoever holds the debt has the right to run the jurisdiction of that society until the debt's paid out. Are you aware of that? Yeah. But they don't. But they, if someone from the outside can offer an alternative remedy, they can't stop it.
Well, someone else can pay the debt. That's
King
easy.
George did that after the War of Independence. They said, you're going to pay the debt. They said, hell no. They went back to King George, said, you want to buy the debt.
Mm.
So they were only a republic for about 7 years
Yeah.
until they refused to honour the debt.
Mm.
Brought it back.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things, little subtle things from the law. I mean, that's the whole idea of the judicial review. As I was saying before, there is a war sort of on this continent between the federal court judges and the Supreme Court judges. Because remember, every court's a bank.
Yes.
Right, so away everyone's doing their interest in the federal court. And it's a big money game. They don't care if you win, lose or draw, as long as you're in there. They make the exchange is longer the better. Because the clerks having the transaction. But there are ways in the Procedures Act that you can go from the federal to the Supreme Court. You know. Then when you go to the Supreme Court, oh great, money up this side, you know what I mean? And there's a whole different exchange going on. Because it was interesting when, I think I mentioned this before, so you know, when the native title consent determination was first coming into Queensland, I think about 2011, it was really interesting on the article that the Supreme Court said that they're willing to welcome a judicial review of the native title consent determination. And I thought, that's weird. The court was advertising to welcome someone to put a judicial review in. Very unusual. Because they knew the dangers of that back in 2011. So what a judicial review is, you know, the whole bone of the code, we put this together and they were trying to suck us into a federal court because of the commercial matter. You can't defend yourself commercially against a commercial matter, but if you say, no, I'm putting a judicial review because we've got the argument, we want to open up the whole commercial platform. Open disclosure, and then that's like, no corporation wants to go to judicial review because everything opens up. But you've got to show this thing, that bone of the code, that we've got the ability, banking ability, and all the whole estate stuff that you guys have been practicing forward since 1864 in law, not in politics. Don't worry about them trippers. They wouldn't know shit from play what's going on.
Yeah, we did a judicial review once, Supreme Court. Guess which judge it went before?
Don't know.
The same frickin' one that made the dodgy judgment.
Alright.
You get a lot of remedies in Queensland. You know, I'm not going to overturn my judgment.
Yeah.
But the fox in charge of the chicken coop.
Oh, mate, integrity figure.
Yeah. Well, that the judicial review works if something's in action. corruption and that, but with the Treaty of Innocence, we can do this from scratch. And then the whole thing, we've got this whole thing of the Victoria rule. And that's a big thing. The Victoria rule, everything that I'm saying, telling you is the Victoria rule. You know? You've got to know how to protect your interests before you go out in the big ugly world. So when they come in, you just bang, hit them with the knowledge. You know, and you're giving through the doctrine of discovery, you're giving notice of the discovery. You know? Right up, this is where my protections are. Once you tell them their tenure with the level of law, then they've got to rebut that. You know? And then you say, well, I've got 100 more behind me. And they only work on one little contract. You only just got a small tenure of charter of business, mate. If you ever go across your charter and you start scratching into this, then you can get sued for damages. You know? It's a tort. So it's really hard if you go into something that's already in circle of the old system and you want to try and pull it out, then you've got all this, you know, prior interest that you've got to try and untangle. It's just difficult. You could do it, but it's going to cost.
That's what stopped us.
Yeah. But if you've got this innovation idea, and you start this whole financial platform on the rule of law, exposing all this, well, they can't stop that. Because you have something called a preemptive right. Good story of preemptive right is Sir Francis Drake. Here's a good example of a preemptive right. So when Queen Elizabeth was Queen, the Armada, the Spanish was the all-powerful empire at the time. They had access to South America, whacking gold out. The Catholic Church was getting a war machine behind the Armada. French was kind of like, the French Catholic was in disarray. But the English, Queen Elizabeth, she was the last Protestant queen. You know, and Queen Mary, the Scots up in, she was Catholic in Scotland and all that. So Sir Francis Drake had this idea of going off down South America and stealing the gold off the Catholics, off the Catholic Spanish. Right? He done it once. And he came back and everyone realised there was a bit of a bougie on there and he got a bit of a name. And he got, you know, this guy was pretty good. Then he went for the big one, the Golden Hind. He had 4 boats, so 3 of them. But he never had a grant or permission from the Queen. The Queen could not give him a grant or permission. In case he got captured, there would have been a declaration of war. So he was a pirate. But you got to wink, wink, nod, nod, please. You know, I'd like to see you back. This is what Queen Elizabeth. So he went and he had a preemptive right. Because when he went down the east coast of South America, this time the Spanish were waiting for him. So he couldn't come down and come back up that way. So they chased him right around and done his circumnavigation right around. So he was the first one right around the world on a boat because he was getting chased.
That'll do it every time.
And so when he came back onto Port Mount in England, which was 3 years later, the first thing he said when he got off the boat is, "Is the Queen still alive?" Imagine the apprehension of that, you know? If there was another king or something, could he get whatever? Because he came back and he had, you know, a whole shitload of treasures. It wasn't so much the treasure, it was just this, we put one up against the Spanish, you know, it was this hero mantra was going out, a champion, you know, and everyone picked it all up and she had the gold and everyone said, fuck, we put one up, and then from that height she ended up put money in to fight the Armada, you know. And by beating the Spanish in the Armada, that gave rule for the British Britannia, you know, they gave the seas to England, you know. But he worked off a preemptive right.
So he would get a letter of marque, which would make him a privateer and not a pirate, if he gets a letter of marque from the monarch.
If he got something from the monarchy, he didn't have one. He didn't have one though.
He didn't.
No, because the reason why is the Queen gave him some sort of documentation, marque or pen, and the Spanish captured him and he had documentation from the Queen.
Yeah.
that was a right for them to declare war.
Sure.
But if the Spanish caught him, he would just be a wandering pirate.
Yeah.
There was no association with the Queen. So with that, he had a preemptive right. So we have a preemptive right through the doctrine of discovery to do this. And the whole idea is to put it back into the Crown. And then the Crown's a lot of officers. We don't need to deal with dodgy Freemasons. There are still some good Christian interests in there, and we were going to this Celtic Christian interest, where the women's spirituality still exists. All right, and then you can open up the whole, because I lived in the Scottish Highlands for 3 years, the whole spiritual culture. It's beautiful with the bards and the, the Irish music. We'll just put it back to them, really. The Irish will wait for the singing and open up the whole Tara myth.
So the castle you're going back to reclaim?
No, I already claimed someone in there. We just want to put it back into their estate.
Right. Okay.
All right. So I lived in Scotland, so I met a few lords and earls. They're just humble people like ourselves,
Yeah.
and I'm quite sure that they would like to reevaluate their estate.
Yes.
But just put the seal on, brother.
So then, well, there's a whole other philosophy like this being a military democracy or land under occupation still, where there was no cessation of conflict, and I did this thing with Winston where we actually revoked the interest in the trust that they created back to the source of the trust, sent it to DC, and operating under the peaceful part of the Labour Code and all that sort of thing, where I'm like non-combatant.
Yeah, non-belligerent.
Yeah, non-belligerent, all of that. How does that military occupation view this sort of concept of inserting a new thing into the...
All right. For sure. All right. Where's the history of the military come from? Does anyone know? Edward III, Court of Chivalry.
All right.
Because in the military, chivalry, they do have it. I don't know about it in here. Well, I can point that out. I hope I break and see what I've got to
Sure.
do.
Yeah.
But even in the Court of Chivalry, they had something there called the Point of Honour. Judges, when you go to judges, you've got to call them honour. Everything's honourable. So they have a point of honour in the chivalry. Right, so this is the kick-ass thing. When it comes to constabulars, cashier Nostra General and magistrate Nostra constabulars, these jobs are collect the taxes for the military.
The war chest.
The war chest. Have a look at the Latin. It's very old and very, and it all comes from the Court of Chivalry.
Sure.
Edward III. Now, you remember what I said, there's two courts that come out of this. The Court of War, and they deal with the arms, Code of Arms, right? There's a Court of Love, and they deal with amour. Does anyone know that?
Italian.
Amour.
Is Italian word for love.
Does anyone know there's some called the Codes of Amour?
No, I didn't, that's what I was
Yeah, Finamour.
That's
Finamour. Has anyone heard of that? It's a Code of Love. Has anyone heard of the Finamour? An interesting story. And it exists, and it parallels with the Court of War. So this whole woman's heart magic, which we don't talk about, is a sleeping beauty to take over the beast.
The sacred feminine.
Yeah. Finamour, I'll tell you a bit of history, very fascinating. Remember I told you about Queen Eleanor, who married King Henry II? Now Queen Eleanor, I'll try and get this history right, okay? Her father was William something. Her father was William, her grandfather was William. And he went into Persia and he brought all the poets of like Rumi and Ovid back into the southern part of France. Because this is all, when's this? This is the time of the Norman conquest. bit after the Viking side, right? So northern France is more Catholic based, but the southern France is more Mediterranean influence. Right? The northern France were kind of connected to that military Catholic church, but the French, they were into the wine and sex and finding God that way. So that whole roomy stuff. They were lovers. And they had the troubadours, the music people. So her land of Aquitaine was more of the poetry side of it, while Louis VII, his side was the Catholic arms, more Charlemagne, Roland poetry, the warrior stuff. So when this was going on during the court of chivalry, a lot of the marriages in those days were done by state marriages. You know, women were married to men because of land titles and they weren't in love. So a lot of times these men and women were having side flirts away from Roman Catholic property laws, you know what I mean? So these women of the court, especially through her daughter, they saw all this love going away from the Catholic court. So they made this rule of engagements on how to love a person away from state's love. Yeah, and I've got it, it's really interesting. And it's called rule of law. So basically, from their court, you're allowed to have your adultery flirts. Well, yeah, there's the shock, but to the Celtic tradition, the Celts, when you got married, because when you get married, you've got the cake. What do you think? What's the cake there for? In the marriage, the cake there in the old days was to give worship to Jupiter. Right? The cake represents Jupiter. So when the woman, from Roman law, if the woman gets married to a man, the woman's property goes to the man's property. The Celts never had property. Remember that? They had a different way of associating in love. So in the Celts, they had like one contract, 1 year practices or contracts, and every year you can relate it. You won't stand and be in that same relationship, or you can go another one, or you can have 2 or 3 concubines, whatever. It was all an agreement. So all southern France and all the Gallics had that belief. That was part of their culture. Then the Romans came in and says, no, that woman becomes the property of the man, and the cake says to represent Jupiter. So it was alienating for these people at that time. So sure, they see the Roman Catholics side of it, and men would get the women, but their love was somewhere else. So the women create this court of love, this ability that's more, a very sensual, very emotional way of rules of engagement that you can still be married to the bloke because state consent, but you still can have your love. And if the men didn't approach the women rightly, they would get dispersed by the court out of the court of love. Because they kicked all those men out of the court of love, and they ended up creating these Cistercian monks. So all these Cistercian monks came out, and that took about 200 years, and then they start hitting these women into witch burning. So I've done a bit of a study on that Finnemore. Right, I've got another web page here called finnemore.com. .com.au. I get a lot of girls coming up doing art journals with me, like Silla and all that. A lot of women are really confused, like most people. They don't know what the fuck's going on, like most people, within themselves. They're trying to find their own validity and value. Then I put them on the Finnemore column, and it's all about women initiations a lot in there, where the spirituality exists among craziness. There's a really good one there about the flowering of the rebellious slaughter. The one thing in the West, we have initiation for men, maybe going to the army or that. We always recognise men's roles, but we don't recognise women's roles in the West. But in the Celtic Finnemore, they did recognise women's roles. There is a court of love to take on that court of war. But while we always put our interest into the army, we're building it. You know? So that Finnemore is connected to that Treaty of Innocence because it's Celtic. It's a very deep, rich knowledge, you know. So yeah, when it comes to the army, what you're saying, what you said in there is your reality. That's part of your estate, Mark. So all your knowledge you've got is part of your tenure. So bring it in. It's the same, we got some, what's your name?
John.
Jones. Well, Jones got a whole different story about what you can offer from your estate. So it doesn't need to go headbutting the system or the army. Well, maybe she's got more of a nurturing development one, healing one. Well, that's just as valid. You know, because the whole thing of the bill of exchange is you've got to offer something valid. It's got to be something valid. You've got to offer it to be considered. Right? Considered, accept. Value. So then most people stop, don't even start. Is my voice valid? So that's the first thing they tell you. Whatever you've got, mate, Wayne, whatever you've got, I don't know, you have to write out. What's your name, mate?
Evan.
Evan?
Yeah.
Write it down, brother. It doesn't have to be, you know, strong and, chronically expressed like this. You know, I've worked a lot of years to do that. You get to your stage, you're only a young man, give yourself 4 or 5 years. Find out somewhere along the line you're going to offer it. And obviously when I'm offering it, people inviting me up so I can get accepted. Everyone's got a, you can do this. And if you've got a really quirky little idea, just work around it, you know. Be smart, be wise, and you are the creator. But the whole thing is, who's willing to accept it? And that's what we want to do with this. But we're willing to accept the stories.
Right.
No.
I just wanted to ask, you know, with the doing that up, do you have examples on the website, or will you have examples on the website of how you might word it?
Yeah, on the Finnemore or the Art Journal?
Well, on all of it, yeah.
Well, the Finnemore's just reading more, so I've got a lot of character stories on it. I have got the website from the Art Journal.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I've got that. I'll write that down.
But is what I'm saying is,
Images.
no, is it?
The bill of exchange process, the valid offer, is that what you're referring to?
Is
Yeah.
there an example of how you might word it?
Oh, we're setting that up
Okay.
through the 9 rings, you know. Look, that's our challenge. We want to put this up so people can look at the web page and become like an education process. How to go through the steps. But we want to, the 9 steps we agreed on that, and every step can be infinite in its own line, you know. So there's certain languages to the next. So the 9th ring is we get someone like Scylla who was here. She's already gone through the Art Journal. I've got a few girls, they can make heaps of money doing spiritual workshops, you know. I've got people in education curriculum, they're willing to put that into schools. It'll be $1 million business in itself. So we're working on, and I said, Scylla, just cash up, put money in your pocket. It's my gift. But when everyone comes into that will, the next step is in the 8th ring. Tell us your story. What have you got to offer? And start. So if you bring it in, and it's not really Mickey Mouse, we'll come in and have to shape it up. It's not a problem. Well, on the 8th ring, we really want to have this sort of like social chat room so everyone can help each other out to refine it, define it. And then coming to that point of the 7th ring that once you've got your estate, you've got your story of your estate, you know your point of history, and you know, then we'll put you on our register. Because when you're on our register, we'll find investors to help you financially forward, you know what I mean? But no one's going to invest you, mate. Like this guy yesterday, what you've got to offer, I don't know. I'm not going to give you $1 million if you don't know, right? You know what I mean? You've lost it. So the whole point, if you get to that point of honor, you know you're confident, you've got something to offer, and you can commit your time to it, then we'll put you in. And then we'll introduce you to Greg. You know, if you ever meet Greg, you know, you keep up and you're going. But if not, you go, fuck me. And I don't want to waste Greg's time. Fair enough, isn't it? So I showed Greg the 9 rings, and he really digs it. You know, he's looking for people to put money into and invest it, because it's going to cost us a lot of money. I reckon Rob we need about 6 people to work that site. They're in a really professional position, you know. So yeah, that's I'm sharing this with you. My challenge is to put pragmatic steps of how people do homework on it, you know. Yeah. But with the court of law, there's a lot of expansion in your own story through that, you know. Because the women's psyches are different to men. They've got a different way of approaching this. Blokes will march in, and the women like to dance, you know. And you've got to give that, men have got to learn to be patient around that dance. And every now and then, it's kind of like, I kind of like to work on the moon cycle, you know. It takes 28 days for the moon to go around. And so their dance is in the moon, but with the sun, it's spanning 28-day steps will meet the moon cycle, you know. You know, and every now and then when we meet, we can do the community. And that's the same with Aboriginal law, you know, the men's laws like this and women's laws like that, something like that. They don't mix, because it's healthy not to mix. Let the men be men, let the women be women, and every time they come together, we create the community.
Is that where the secret men's business and secret women's business comes into it?
Yeah, indeed. And respect that. You know, I've got a lot of irate with my sisters, always trying to figure out. I do men's workshops with men.
What sort of workshops?
On the art turnbull, and I go, and I've done this one at this yoga centre, and the yoga, the ashram in Melbourne, and they're very concerned that no men come to the yoga centre because it's all women, you know what I mean? So they've got to do a men's workshop, and as long as I'm allowed to be tough with them. And so I took the men's workshop into the forest, away from the building. So the forest in Hinduism, Shiva, so all the women, the forest is in Shakti. So I'm taking all the men in the Shakti forest and all the women are in the Shiva buildings. So the blokes are there and I'm having a campfire and I'm doing this workshop. As soon as the guy said the campfire in the building tea, everyone starts starting up. It's a great workshop. Do 3 days, you know. And so when all these men are coming out of the forest, all those women just totally turned on.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, because a lot of those women are becoming nuns because of male abuse. Right? Then the boys are coming out and their brother and getting healed. It's not a sexual turn on, it's really a holistic turn on. These blokes are changing attitude. But as I around, I'm putting the blokes into the Shakti where there's all spiders and no boundaries and trees and darkness, the Shakti. And the women are staying in the Shiva. The women should be in the Shakti. So anyway, I come out and the women got asked, what do you talk about there in Moss? What do you talk about in the men's workshop? I said, well, we talk about women. You know? Because the first thing I do in that workshop, I get 12 blokes and I say, all right, first thing I'm going to ask you, who's here on your own volition, or who's here because your wife or girlfriend told you, or because the relationship's over? They're not there because they've been told to go there by their missus. Okay, that's where we're going to start. Tell us what the fuck's going on. The majority of the men's trauma is not meeting the woman. Right?
Not meeting one.
Not capable of understanding the meaning. The rest is drama. Replacing it with all sorts of drugs and violence and whatever, you know what I mean? So let's get to the core of it. You know, we are here dancing on Mother Earth, but we're fighting each other.
That's right.
Right? A lot of women don't know how to be women. A lot of men don't know how to be women, but it seems like the only people that can be victims on this planet right now is the women. No one talks about the victimisation of men in this planet. It's all blame on men.
Must be really confusing now with the 56 odd genders that you can be.
Well,
73.
I mean, that's more reason why blokes are coming.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Yes.
What the fuck's
Just to
going on?
confuse the issue even.
Yeah.
Same-sex marriage, more confusion than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So that's one of my joys, you know. I do a lot of it. And I used to do workshops with the women, just with the women. Anyway, I've got 2 girls that do that now. And Scylla's one of them. And Scylla, I'd like to talk to you girls about Scylla. She's an amazing lady in her own spirit, but she, like everyone, needs a bit of confidence to come out. Everyone's got to find their own balance, you know what I mean? So I just want to put that, all I'm talking to you guys about law and estates and money, but there's a lot more to you than just the business side. You know, someone like yourself, mate, when it comes to that Celtic music and that, that's, to me, is a lot more graceful than that in the business, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yesterday with Sheila, she was sitting there, we're having a great conversation, a beautiful connection there, and she said, you know, would you be willing to work with me? Like, and I said, you know, I put out for a buddy. I want to buddy up with somebody, and I don't know what it would look like, so I just handed over and said, you know, just send me the ideal man or woman to buddy with, and the same for them. So this is a couple of days ago. She turns up and says, could I work with you?
Yeah.
And I said, do you want to be my buddy? She goes, yeah. We both said, yeah. Just knowing it. I said, yeah, let's feel into it, let's work with it.
Yeah, great.
You know? And that was it. She was exactly it. And I would not even be able to reason why. I just know why.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so,
Well, look, that's a trust, isn't it?
yeah.
So we can validise that trust, huh?
And we develop it as we
Yeah.
do. That's everything emerges from there. So.
Yeah. Well, that's the strength. So from our point of view, you keep that company up, that conversation, if you like. You're going to develop something, develop it, and then you offer it and go through this consideration. So if you do a 4-year trial, you can turn that 4-year trust into some sort of empirical format, and there's a financial flow back to you. This is what we want to do with the Treaty of Innocence. We don't want to create another industry or another technological front. There's heaps of them. But we can create a holistic society, and we can have an exchange in there that doesn't feed this fucking Jewish war machine. But no one's done it yet. We've got to be really encouraging in our innovation that we can do it.
Can I share something with you from that place?
Yeah.
I'm part of a community of 9 that just bought some land. Pete was one of them at Canungra, and we've been using for the last 2 years a process that I put together, which is how to communicate collectively from the heart, so that we create a resonance. We're actually creating a construct that is like alchemy, comes out of the uniqueness of us talking to a topic, for example.
Yeah.
We're not looking for decision making, we're looking for harmony.
Yeah.
Once harmony's there, we know how to act on it. So we've done that for 2 years. I called it Gathering of Luminaries. I'm sitting in the middle of Scotland, up at Findhorn, when it came so clearly that I have to bring this out.
Yeah.
Right.
Sweet.
So I put it out there, called it Gathering of Luminaries.
Gathering, that's what the Druids told us, gathering.
Yep. That was what came clear. These guys were the ones out of everyone who turned up that said, let's keep continuing to create community. Now we've got the land, we're actually actioning it, and it was without the process of communing collectively, we wouldn't be where we are, and that's what we know that holds us solid, because of our egos and our verbal duality and construct doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not effective anyway.
Yeah.
So this allows us, we don't have to talk about consensus or, everyone voting the same. We're all one and we all want to come into harmony.
Yeah.
And then once we're in harmony, we just know where to step forward. Well, that's what we're about to go and do. So it's profound, and so now I've got it online. There's my value that I know that I'm offering to community, so that if anyone wants to have their projects get together and get them off the ground and not fail in 2 years because everyone ego, bashing. So that's my value that I'm offering.
Yeah. Well, I'll accept it. We're going to find. We can go into the details of it. Because in that 9th thing, so you've got a great story like that, and I'm considering right. So there's this thing called epitome. That was the next step. Epitome, things like that. So the epitome is you've got this. I'm really hearing you. This sounds substantial. You've got 9 people you worked on. You've done miles. Right? So that is like, we've got something structured as well. Obviously 2 different structures. So when we come and meet, it's the epitome. We work out the nuts and bolts, how we can marry this together. You keep your own sovereignty, we keep our own sovereignty. We don't lose each other. So that's the place just before you come onto the register. If you want to be registered, we've got to work out what we can offer, what you can offer. Huh?
I'm considering it,
Yeah,
yeah.
And that's the process. If you want anything, if you got a state of fee simple, just don't come on. We've got to find out what baggage is on your state of fee simple. You know, if you come up, oh, I want to get part of your tree, but we'll someone open them out the back door, I don't think we'll agree with that. We have a right not to agree. Yeah, that's outside our ethical volition.
Refusal from laws.
Yeah. So we're not here to save the world.
Or it might be.
No, you know, the world can, all we want to do is create principles and precepts. We're not got to miss any hope.
That's just an effect.
Yeah. We just create principles and precepts. It's all to the law, and we do these small, strong, solid steps. We're not trying to go over and expand in South America or China or Syria, all that sort of shit. We're just doing what we can do, and people come in, and the stronger the steps we do, the more we accumulate with a good brain trust, if you like, you know, and everyone totally keeps their own characteristics. Whatever it is, I don't know. That's the whole idea of the tenure. The more you show us, the more we get strong. As long as we want to create this movement, and we just respect the Treaty of Innocence. Women and children should not be murdered in war. I think that's a planetary emphasis right now.
I think it's better if there was no war to begin with.
I was going to say, yeah, that would be a good treaty, wouldn't it?
But it would be an excellent
No war.
treaty.
Well, really, if we do this for the bona fide, we'll stop the financing for war. You know, it's all banking stuff.
Yeah.
Right, and we're us paying taxes blindly, in the realm of satisfaction is feeding it. So we're implicit to the wars. Well, I don't. I don't know. If I had a choice, a pure choice of action, I wouldn't agree with that at all. But then you get that shitty little dude like Johnny Howard, patriotism, and get it on TV and weapons of mass destruction. You know, couldn't believe weapons of mass destruction, and they prove there's no weapons of mass destruction until the next election. You get voted in again anyway.
Shows you how dumb.
Shows you how dumb people are. I mean, fuck me, this guy's just done a satanic lie with millions of people died, proven, then he gets elected in again.
Where were the weapons? They never arose.
Well, never mind Port Arthur and
Yeah.
Barnard, orchestrated events to
People are so
convince the people.
stupid. They still have to vote either Labour or Liberal. They're
Yeah.
so stupid.
Well, I know. What is it, mate? It's just complaint people, that's the way it is.
Well, they did a good job. They bring Pauline out of nowhere. You've got two Rhodes Scholars in opposition, fighting each other, creating no opposition.
Yeah.
So they made it as easy as possible for people
Yeah,
to
no,
continue down that line.
Yeah.
you do a donkey vote.
Until you here, I've never saw a remedy. Like, you can't, there's no remedy just adhering. There's, you know, all the reversions and all the paper, all the things I've done over the years looking for the remedy. You know, heading off, I've never known a remedy exists for a monarchy. And then knowing that, how do you actually you have to finance it? Because you can't just sit on your little land and going, you can't touch it, but you have to have a ledger. So, you know, yours the first time I've seen a full remedy based on harmony, based on the
Everything they believe in is
everything. So you know, like you said, I love that thing. We have to have a full remedy. You can't go, let's just try that because we're going to get to the first gate and get stopped. So this is the first one that
We've had a letter.
I can see the entirety of it, how we action it, how we come to it, and how we work together.
Well,
It's,
potential's there.
you know, it has all the potential. And once it's presented, you can't turn. I can't turn my back on it. I can't walk away from it because universe will kick me out the arse for having something that's presented and not follow through. So I will, and I know that the flow of consciousness and energy, like you said yesterday, has to draw me forward into it, or I'm going to just stagnate and win.
Well, it won't happen.
It's that centrifuge. I'm not going to do it. So.
No, I'm a big one for syncreticity. I was supposed to be in Canberra, I came up here, And then, I'm enjoying it, I'm glad I did, thank you, Warren. Thank you for everyone. Huh?
No politicians.
Thank me, I encouraged you with the voting.
You too.
The only bad thing about this seminar is that you've given us 6 months of solid reading. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, look, I'll after all this, I'll put it on a USB disk and give it to Kim and you can electronically convey it. But yeah, look, the magic of the times, if you like, I was really wrapped. I always had this strong connection with Stella. When I met up in North Queensland, and when I come up here and I heard she was in Brisbane, and she wanted to come, well that was, yeah, God, you know, and you make a big connection. You still will be, she's a special one for her. And you, it's always good to work in pairs too. Because, you know, you get really complacent in yourself and down, you know you need to ring up and you mate, come on. Vice versa. It's always good to work in pairs, you know, prop each other up. And by all point of honour, and I said that to Silla last night at dinner, I said, Silla, you don't need to explain anything to me, sis. I totally know where you're at. Because she, like most people do, self-doubt's a big problem, right? So I'm asking, do not self-doubt your own God consciousness. Even if it's just a whisper, if you have a problem with your thought, whatever issue that your father or mother put on your bag that you've done when you're stupid or you're crazy or whatever, that's the demons you've got to drop off. I don't want to meet the demons. I know they're there. I'm not afraid of demons, and I'll help you curate them and push them away. I'm very good at that. No, 1, 2, 3 days in the bush, my men's workshop with me, I'm out bored. I've helped a lot of blokes out there. So that's not a problem, but what I will emphasise to come on and just give us the strength of your story. And I'm sure you guys are well, you've got some really strong stories here. Enough stories to really hit these corporations. But you've got it like a good collective, it's a cachet, we create our own law courts, we create our own judicial nature. And that's the beauty of, I want to look at that common law course. And create your own common law court. But I want to look at one of the things you do need a residential space. You need a spot marked Dirks or Mother, because at the end of the day it's all about land. So we do have one residential address that's got the Colonial Bank Charter with that modicum and confidence. So everything that we do economically on the estate, we're going to hook into that. So when all these banks come along and put all this, so well, there's a big difference between your Company Statute Act and National Corporation Bank Act. And by this, you're not supposed to put title deeds in the securities. And just have a look at Mr. Werner, he can explain it better than I. And if we do that, I wouldn't mind trying to find out where Mr. Werner exists and send him an invitation for his words to come and part of the judiciary.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure he's got assets.
He didn't answer my emails. Shut up, Ken.
So any questions? Any questions? Anyone want to throw anything at me? Oh, keep the old notes and stuff in here. All right, I'm going to keep on this equity of redemption now. So you can dig on that, right and ram. You have a right, anything is yours with right and ram. So you'll have to remedise it. Choice and action, the whole thing is to find out right and res. Who do you want to deal with? Now, I'm suggesting, I'm going to take this up to 1 o'clock, we'll have a break, all right? Ecclesiastical Society. Now, you have an spirituality, ecclesiastical society with your mind. Have you got a name for it?
Syntropic life.
Tropic?
Syntropic life.
Syntropic life?
Which is like, it's for life. Syntropic.
Okay.
So for life.
Right.
And entropy.
Alright, when you go back to your friends, how would you spell it?
S-Y-N.
S
Entropy.
Yeah, S-Y-N. T-R-O-P.
O-P.
I-C. Syntropic life.
Alright, this falls under natural justice, okay? Everything you do, right and read, is natural justice. Put that in your head. Everything from now on, you've got natural justice. Not positive laws, you have natural justice rights. And that's also your coat of arms. Your coat of arms replaces your fictional signature. Right? And so your syntropic life does have another right in there as a group. It's called a just commune. It's a natural justice right to have a just commune. And you are entitled to petition. And also a petition of grace. And that petition of grace becomes in the form of that snake petition, you know, the hell of But we go none of that. So these are it. So you have a right to petition of grace. Now, where did I put it? So open up this petition of grace. There was a good question John asked me the other day about it. I'll just read out what the petition of grace is. There it is. Oh, it can be a petition of grace, but also it works when you got a petition of grace, it marries into the prerogative. Of grace. So yeah, go to petition, basically the res will be into the prerogative of the Crown. You got to petition the Crown to get its prerogative. The prerogative of grace is being committed, or as some have conjectured, because it was known to the suitors that to the high dignitaries their petition would ultimately be referred. Now with this petition of grace, so all the Prince Henry, Prince William, Prince Charles, the Queen, they've all got their own offices. So, you know, like Prince Charles, they patronise 175 interests around the world. They wear on bags, but geez, they do a lot of good work. But we always bag, don't we? We look at the Victitious, Prince Henry coming out, what are the Victus games? The Victus games, right?
Yeah.
All come from his offer. That was totally Prince Henry. I'm sure he's got some big investors behind, but can you see the beauty of that man's heart? Right? And all the cameras are just, everyone's cheering him. You're seeing kids to 8-year-old ladies all cheering Henry and Marco. No one's doing that to any politicians, are they?
Right.
So that's the beauty of the Crown. That's the court of love. So when they go into the weddings, you know, the majority of the people are watching the weddings of the women because of the fashion show of it.
Yeah.
You know, the pageantry of it.
Plus the heart that was in that speech in the middle of the church made me cry, and I thought the saying, oh, there's no love, nothing in this, there's love.
Yeah.
You get millions of people going, oh, if you put them up on the steps there and hang them, you get a lot.
So the flip side to that then is,
I know, I love it when they hang. Sorry.
No,
I just come from peace, by the way. I'm not aggressive.
go on.
the flip side to that then, the concept that they're really just placeholders for that office in that, was it Albert that they locked in the tower and the Rothschilds came in and sort of broke the bloodline?
Prince Albert.
Yeah, when they locked Albert up in the tower, and was it Nathan, one of the Nathan Rothschilds was progenitor to break the bloodline sort of thing?
Yeah, I've got all sorts of stuff around.
Yeah, 1600.
You know, to be, I don't know.
Just the concept though that they're really just holding a placeholder for a concept of a monarchy as opposed to being a bloodline.
Yeah, they're titular people.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not the crown. They're just the titular head of the crown. I mean, going back to that, this is where I get confused. Everyone thinks the Queen's the crown. She's not. When she dies, Charles will be the king, then it goes down to George. But the crown still goes on. That dynasty's moving, well, they're a family, it still goes on. So they're not the crown. They are a crown representation, a titular head. So Henry's got an office for his.
Big questioning probably before the why.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the difference between the Crown Corporation and the monarchy, the real crown, and then, you know, how they're really just colonists that are in
Well,
there.
yeah, see, Jeff there's got a crown.
Yeah,
All right, he's got an office of the crown.
yeah.
That's what I say, the crown, everything that's subjective to the rule of law is the crown. So sure there's a corporation of London, but it's connected to the crown. They're not calling themselves the crown. Right, it's like COAG, Council of Australian Government. So they're not registered, they're non-registered government departments, but they call themselves COAG.
Yeah.
I know, more crapola.
Right.
It's just a
But there's also a sinister side to the monarchy, and that is, you just look at Circa.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a little bit complex for me to grasp, you know, have a clear definition.
Look, not disputing that, right? I'm just saying through petition growth and through prerogative growth of this movement. Right? Now we haven't come to a decision who we want to shake hands on. Initially, I like to go to the Wales Kingdom, but they're not in action right now. It's a moribund. Okay, so this is where we're at. But I'm quite sure if I meet a corrupt person, I'll do a 3-day bush. I'll do a workshop in a bush with him, mate. I'll get your demons off your shoulder. I don't mind. I'm in theology in Scotland. I've met some really dark ministers, you know, and I'm looking at them and I'm going, they've been holding this Calvinist, you are a sinner, doctrine over the Scottish Highlands for 400 years, you know what I mean? They're trying, they're putting you're a sinner to me, and I'm going out to an Aussie, I'm going, I get fucked. Because they've got no power over me. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to snap you, you little shit. And that was the magic spell wasn't there. You know, and it's interesting that the Presbyterian Church is really hard. You know, there was this one place called Gaelic, and they had the Church of Scotland, the Free Presbyterian Church of Scotland, they had the Wee Free Church of Scotland, and over here they had the Association Presbyterian Church of Scotland. They're all Christians and they're all Presbyterians, and they would not talk to each other. There's one little verse in the Bible. You know? Yeah. So as an Aussie, I'll go in the Church of Scotland in the morning, take it out to everyone, minister, go up in the afternoon, Free Church of Scotland, next week, free, I'm saying it later, everyone on the way home, having a beer with my mate in the pub, on a Scottish little village. And they didn't know what the fuck to do. You know, they're not hitchhiking around, and when the ministers are picking me up hitchhiking, great blokes, one-on-one, they hear the story, but once they've got the uniform on, that comes this false office. But even then, they had to answer to the rule of law being the Calvinists. So when I was brain fucking them, I was always bringing up what Jesus was saying. I don't give a shit what you're saying, right? This is what Jesus was saying. And I went up to one elder of the church and he said, and I said, well, all these things, you're not talking to these guys from the Free Church of Scotland. I mean, the second commandment of Christ is love thy neighbour as love thyself. He's turned around and said, I think you're very ignorant there, boy. And I'm looking, I'm going, you stupid old prick. I mean, yeah, but that's abuse. That is a lie. But I don't need to deal with that. Alright, so if these guys have got offices and they're corrupting the office, I don't need to talk to that corrupt person unless I'm moving through the fucking office, dickhead. So to say with the Notary Public.
It's probably been this most protecting that little nest egg.
Well, yeah, no, this is another thing. This is the world of finances, like we got to deal with the Notary Public, right? So we go in there, there's costs involved. We're gentlemen here, we're mature. If you go from A to B, everything's moves for money. You don't have money. You ain't got money, you don't get in, period, no? So that's not play like little kids. But if I'm putting finances down, there's the office, and we need a Notary Public, I'm paying you money to get the stamp, and I'm not telling you how to do the next step for me. I'm just using your office. So it's the same if we go to whether Henry or whatever, I don't know. Personally, I don't mind William Henry myself. I think there's a whole new heart coming into that. The royalties, I think they're saving the royalties, that family.
Yeah.
What Henry and William are doing. They've definitely got their mother's heart. Right? So, it's offering acceptance, we can go through them, but it's just their patronage. They've got an expansive ability to make this wider than what I can do. A man's got to be wise to his own limitation.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But we're really going with this. Anyone who's going to fuck around with the Treaty of Innocence, I mean, mate. It's different if we got people in that snake petition, and I get up and the Aboriginal elders want to get their petition on this because it's a treaty. Fuck me, man. They'll be coming to us. It's a body, it's a synchronistic body prayer transformation here. A lot of people this far away, it's amazing how many people are just sick of this shit.
Even within the system.
Within the system, everyone knows shit, but where's the grace?
Yeah.
They don't come with Bill Shorten. Like it's getting worse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Between what Turnbull done and Abbott. Abbott was a toxic man, Turnbull was a goblin in the sacks.
They're all toxic.
Right? Now we've got this evangelical Christian dude.
P-E-D-O-P-H-I-L-E.
There you go, it's crazy, isn't it? Meanwhile, everything's going south.
Oh.
So where's the
Let's
strength?
spell it in my head.
So, and the one word no one ever talks about in politics, and it's not part of their tenure, is this word called grace. So it's another magic word for the Treaty of Innocence. If anything, I'm going to get a pregnant pause in what the fuck's going on. This is different. And the more they study, the more they open it up. Okay, so the prerogative of grace being commuted will have some conjecture because it's known to the suitors that the high dignitaries, their petition would ultimately be referred. Now, with this Notary Public, he can get this stuff into, he's got a side door into Buckingham Palace. It's a big one. Remonstrances were that persons would call to this court, not upon any specific complaint, but quid possum cordius causes, so that gets us in the door, that's the key. The person were required to answer as to their frank tenement, which was something almost sacred in the minds of the landowners. So that synchrotop life would become frank tenement. Right? It's sacredness here. Right? That's what grace is. It's not to be taxed. It's not to be industrialised. It's a prayer. That's what the petition is. It's a prayer.
Yeah.
Okay? And to disclose their titles. Beautiful. Because English is built on titles. And by the way, your estate titles is not to have securities bond. That's not part of this law. So we are allowed to prove to the prerogative of grace, because there's no use pointing this out to the guys who create the corruption. They haven't got the high dignitary authority to do this. Which the Commons denounced as being contrary to law. So the House of Commons denounced it as being contrary to the law, the prerogative of grace. So this is the other House of Commons. That the course of proceeding was not according to the common law, but the practice of the Holy Church, and that process of these extraordinary tribunals by employing as means of extortion. The answer to these remonstrances generally was that the king would preserve his prerogatives. So this is what the argument from the Commons versus the... so remember I was talking about, you've got the steeple,
Yeah.
right?
The treasury of the church.
The steeple and the castle keep. Well, I'm not very good drawer, am I? And the town square there. So the House of Commons, the Parliament really works around the Commons and the town square. Okay, so the prerogative of this will come into the church steeple. Because, where do you buy your land from again?
Parish.
Off the county of the parish.
So the town square's the market.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a trade market, so the international trade market. So that's where all the local government and mayors of the cities can get involved with that local trade, because we all walk into the town square. Because they've got the Myers market and the selling shoes market and all this sort of thing.
That's why they have the town crier, which would have notified everybody of the proceeding.
Yeah. So through the prerogative of the grace and it's a petition, because you buy your land off the Crown Parish, we can really open up this treasury. So that House of Commons, it's not common law, it's the prerogative of grace. So they've got no authority on that movement because it's a petition. So, but with the Treaty of Innocence, because of your mate, when we get in there, we actually got a Catholic church, not Catholic one, not an Anglican church, but that becomes negotiable when we get in the church. So on that, because my mate's Filipino, we've got to go via the Philippines to get there. It's fair enough. Because the Philippines have got a Supreme Court there too. We've got, it's very Roman Catholicised. They've got a Supreme Court in there, which is interesting. They've got all sorts of influences in the Philippines. There's a bit of invaded by the Japanese, the Americans moved out. Now they've got, God knows where it is, they've got trying to get Chinese money in there now. I reckon the Chinese will start imploding. You'll watch that, it'll start going. You know, when you've got a billion people starting to play with each other.
There's that interesting story too with Marcos and the Spanish Queen and all that gold, and it's a fascinating complex story.
His favourite is still alive. An old man. That's not the story. His he came up in the Filipino media because the passport was rejected. In other words, he ain't dead yet. No, what I mean is, they'll accept him when he's dead. Anyway, that's another story.
Now when he comes into this church, they've got this thing called the Treaty of Lambeth. Does anyone know what Lambeth is?
No.
Some sheep does it,
How do you spell it?
Lambeth. Lambeth has got its own palace.
Is that where all the
Sheep.
Native Republics go?
No, bishops.
Bishops.
There's the office for the bishops. Once every 10 years they have a convention of Lambeth. All the bishops around the world come to this palace in Lambeth. And that's where they're not ruled by Buckingham Palace, it's got their own palace. Whenever you've got a palace, it's got its own autonomy. So that's where we end up in Lambeth Palace, because this one here, Lord Hayden, this Constable, he's got a palace. He's got a palace himself, it's not on there. Now the thing with the palace can do its own treasury. Right. Now this is really interesting. Got Buckingham Palace. So the Queen can count her own money in her own palace. She does relationships with the House of Lords and the Commons. That's effectively, if you're a king, you've got to have a palace. So although they've got their own palace, does anyone know about Crystal Palace? Has anyone heard of Crystal Palace?
Yeah, like over border here.
No. Yeah, it was Prince Albert's Crystal Palace. In England, they built Crystal Palace.
Oh, Crystal, yeah.
Crystal Palace. This is really interesting here. Here's Queen Victoria, and she's got Buckingham Palace. Then she marries Albert. And Albert's from Coburg and Saxon. He's Belgian. Good movie to watch. It's called Queen Victoria, Young Victoria, where she actually marries Albert. Yeah, watch it. It's an interesting show. It's got some characters. It's got Lord Melbourne in there and Peel and Albert as a young man. But it's interesting. Albert's family, the Saxons, they had their own province. They were this aristocrat family, but they were never British. So they forced Albert to marry Victoria. She was 19 at the time. So they made sure this Coburg dude comes into the marriage. So Albert's in there, and there's a big kerfuffle about Victoria marrying this Belgian prince. Yeah? So when Sir Robert Peel comes into power and all the gold started getting transferred from England, it was the same time the Industrial Revolution started to creep. You know? They had the world was a lot more closer with Morse code, trains, all this gold and silver was coming out of Africa, out of Australia, out of Klondike, and all this wealth was coming in to England, and everything became industrialised. So Prince Albert had this idea of creating a Crystal Palace. And Crystal Palace was the first building they ever done with big glass panes in steel. So it was this amazing building. It was just pure glass. And what they had was an exhibition for all the inventions, all the industrial inventions around the world to come to Crystal Palace. So what he'd done, he ledgered it under Crystal Palace. All the inventions went into Crystal Palace. It was all Freemasonry and all the trademark went through Crystal Palace, and then the Belgian went. It wasn't Buckingham Palace, it was Crystal Palace. So when you go into Belgium right now, how come Belgium's got all the power around the world?
Biggest arms companies in the world.
It was at that moment he created Crystal Palace in England. He created this exhibition with all the world trade fairs, with all the inventions around the world to get legends in Crystal Palace, ends up in Belgium. Interesting, isn't it?
That's how they
So they brought a movie out, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Because remember I said Joseph Chick was the one who done Bills of Exchange, so here's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I like this. So there's the Englishman's got this invention of a flying car, like a bill, a check. So who steals the car? The Belgians.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Alright, kidnap the kids. It's on that movie.
All hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
Wow. I saw the movie as a kid.
There you go. Just to try and tell you something.
That's a change.
Well, I only got halfway. So the Belgians take, the Belgians take the kids. Belgians take the kids. So how do they get the kids back? I forgot. Because they went over there to retrieve the kids, didn't they?
Yeah, I am 58.
I just remember. So Benny Hill was in there, do you remember?
Benny Hill.
Yeah.
I remember he was in the French Connection. I love that movie.
Yeah.
We just Wayne and I just watched the other day at my place. What was it? The Wizard of Oz. It was fascinating. It was just, and we had a commentary, almost a secret commentary that I should send it to everyone. It goes through the movie.
Yeah,
It was really. And we watched the movie while reading the commentary. It was spectacular.
Financial change.
The Yellow Brick Road, the Field of Poppies,
You watch all these movies without even watching it, really.
Wizard of Oz was written in 1906, you know. I do too. Huh? Yeah, silver shoes instead of root.
What did the dog represent again, Wayne?
Toto. The
Property.
Yeah, the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Toto. If it's not in weight,
Yes.
it's in Toto. There's no depth. And it's an interesting thing. They hit this big screen, TV screen, little Johnny Howard throwing his vision out the TV screen. It was only the dog that went around and pulled the curtain. So it's like, trust your instinct.
Yes.
Right.
Right? Don't get caught up in the la because everyone's like, why the dog's going?
And of course, I guess that the best, the real metaphor that's in your face is where the show goes from black and white to fiction,
Yeah,
colour.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
It's a lot in it. And then while he was in the cage telling about all the magic of the Egyptians.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
Oh, there was a skull and crossbones on the
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll send the script around. Very hard to get,
Mm.
and it was terrific watching the movie, reading the script at the same time, which is what we did.
Mm. Well, let's have a break.
Yeah.
Pieces of there.
What's Belgium known for?
Huh?
What's Belgium known for? Pedophiles and chocolate.
Chocolate,
The chocolate so they can get their kids.
And they got a government. Belgium's got a government where the jurisdiction, the judges have power over the government. The government cannot change legislation around the jurisdiction. They have total power of everything. Yeah. You can't adjudicate against the court decisions like that. Very domestic. All Freemasons, all Protestant, High, Jew, Freemasons. Don't run off Freemasons. Huh?
So this was sort of went to so the thing about my concept's always more on
Too dark. That's what's going on. If you bring it, but just close it, but don't shut it completely.
the reflection in this way.
Did you sit on this side?
Let's close it, hold it.
No, yeah, it doesn't affect it really.
So leave it as it
You
is.
can't see it, hold it.
Just close it, but don't
I'll do it.
pull it close, sort of, but halfway.
So we got as far as the prerogative of grace. So that can offer, now when you do the prerogative of grace, and it's your innovation, your specific performance, preemptive right, you can do it, you don't need anyone's permission to do it. It's for an establishment for a trust, rules of equity and good consciousness, to offer a firm on remedy through the degree of civic performance. We'll cover that, we can create our own bank, that's for fun. Contractual rights created by promise to establish a new rubric for a new chapter. So that's new. When you're doing something and it becomes what they call a new rubric, and basically you are creating a new law, a new common law. We create the whole, we create the common law. And so it's called a new rubric. I'll get to that later. Right? The remedy must be shown in destinary of the order of the trust upon principle of equity and safety. The remedy must be shown in destinary. So I told you the reason of having a treaty of innocence, that it's got a destiny into somewhere, in the castle of Scotland. So that's Tony Gary Collis's. He's got a book, he's the author. And I made that handshake with Gary. I said, Gary, you want a treaty of innocence, you've got to make sure you give it authority because it's on your family coat of arms. Fortunately for Gary, him and his wife are on the same page. Now, if anyone comes up and your wife is not on the same page as your own story, you've got to have another conversation with her. Because I'm not going to talk to the split estate.
That's right.
Can I speak to that for you? In the back of my mind, because of the construct, my coat of arms is separate to my husband's coat of arms.
Yeah.
So I've got my lineage that I follow, male and female side, dad and mum. and he does the same. That's the gist of it.
Yeah. But if you come in as one voice, as one estate.
Yes, that's what I said.
I just deal with the estates, not the personas that make the estates.
Yeah, okay. So if we had the one coat of arms.
And you got the one destiny.
Yes,
together.
yeah.
Good.
Oh, that's cool. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I want to do.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
It's no use having a coat of arms and Gary's got, wants to go to Scotland, his wife wants to go to the Maldives or something.
Yeah.
Off the one. Doesn't work. So whatever if you're in a couple in your relationship, it's really important you're on the same estate. It won't work, and it doesn't work. You know, especially when you haven't had a break. A lot of people want it when you realise that there's a lot of work involved. I don't want work, I just want it. Well, there's two different words do. And there's another thing about will you do it? I ain't going to do it for you. That's another. You see, so this creates the authority of the character if you're actually going to put this through. But this is the whole thing. If you don't listen to them, you can create a new rubric. You can create a whole new law for the Commonwealth. Powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, it's happened before. It's interesting, there's economies that come before and over centuries, but why you keep going around, there's this thing called the continuum underneath it all called the church. They continue, they keep shaping the system and shaping it. So the new rubric goes through the church. It's a spiritual law. It's not a money accountancy, fiat currency platform. They come and go over the centuries.
Where does the term come from, Ross?
The new rubric, it's more ecclesiastical. It's a form that when you go right into it, you can offer a new law to the Crown. So this is why the monarchy survives. It's got to keep shifting and changing with the times, you know what I mean? And the only way the monarchy can survive through the will of the people. The king's prerogative can't exist. It's not the king's prerogative. His prerogative is to serve us as a subject for the prerogative. It's a joint.
Yeah, servant kings.
Yeah. They're more in the service to us and us to them, really. Yeah. So there is a remedy there. So the creation of a trust by an individual act of inter vivos, your choices, declaring it transferred by the will. The Crown holds land in trust for those subjected to its common laws, counted to be tenants in common, and then I read this up. Just a transcendent inter mercatilis, this is mercantile law, locum non habet, Latin, of equitable estates of the Crown Trust Fund. Now once you've got all your estates around that Latin, it's a protect item. All these other mercantile laws come in. Because the whole idea of us counting our own money is there, the deepness is to create a new rubric law.
That does not have the right of accretion amongst the merchants of the place. The translation of that.
Is it? What, say it again?
Does not have the right of accretion among the merchants of the place.
All right. Yeah, you got Latin on your board there, haven't you?
It's on Google.
Oh, great.
Even get the pronunciation for it too.
The intention of the express. So this is another thing. Why they got our estates onto their contracts is by implied law. Why you put through in VinFos onto this, it becomes an express trust. An express one. There's a big difference between express trust and implied law. So everything we're doing is express. What they're doing is through implication. Well, there's another bills of exchange. Where's my signature in the implication? My signature's on this express. I'm going to a new rubric law, it's within the common law. That implied name, artificial name, you got me on a dead instrument, that's up for in the stock. And then they have to answer the stock. And why are you going to the judge? Well, actually I've got my name on something that's positive, that's moving to the law. Well, this one's going into the after the Royal Commission, when the federal government put the last Royal Commission determination down and all the private barristers are going to sue the banks, it's going to be a shit all out there, mate. That's devastating, so we can do this before the devastation. Your Honour. It's a point of honour. So, and this is the sort of language that the judge has to follow because it's all in the law books. It's called constructive notice. I'm not making this up a fantasy. You can go back to your own roles of justice, and if you don't figure out, it's like an appeal, Your Honour, because you don't know the law, and I'll get another lawyer, judge, who does know the law. It's put extreme pressure, so they have to follow the rule of law, even if they're trying to be tricky because they're, you know, they're trying to satisfy their debt masters, or, you know. You've got to point that, even that out. But again, this is why we're going to a different court, the Supreme Court. We're doing innovation, we go through the notary public, through the ecosystem courts. A lot of courts out there. The intention of the expressed in the instrument that creates a trust. When the intention becomes negotiable, the equity courts have power known as vesting orders, vesting the property in new trustees. So this is another thing. You just start discovering your own vesting orders. So this is when we start our own. We get power in. I suppose if you have your own common law court, local common law court, you can start throwing vesting orders out to local corporations. I'm just speculating how big this can go. Rights in persona can be by public notice advertising to deprive all moral, competent, bona fide persons of incidental ownership. So again, you can put this just in the newspaper, public notice. 4 times advertised in the notice when signed off by JP, it sits on public record. As soon as that JP signs it, you've got a date on it, then you're alive. Once you've got a date on that documentation, you exist. So you can put it out there. It's like with me mate Jeff. He put this proclamation out to be the King of Wales. And he done it really nice and professional, and he mailed it in the White House and the Vatican and the Buckingham Palace. So he gave notice in the public paper, right? Now you can do that. The whole idea if you put in the public notice, it gives someone in the public the right to refute it. And they refute it, and it goes to the court for the refute. If there's no refute, you exist. So part of Jeff's been called, he's claimed to be the King of Wales in a certain part of the old field of Wales. So he claimed that no one's reviewed it. So technically, by law, in that claim is the King of Wales. Problem is, no one deals with it.
Didn't you say you needed a kingdom to be a king?
Well, he's claimed it. Yeah, that's it. It's one thing to claim to be something in central Victoria, but the kingdom's over in Wales, mate. You know, you're only really truly a king when you control the treasury. To claim something is one thing, but to give it action,
That's right.
it's another ballgame. But that's how you do it. You can put vesting laws, you can claim stuff, but the fact that it's on record, it exists. It doesn't mean it's got action, but it gives it existence.
Wouldn't you use a notary, rather than a JP? Because they're going to see dead anyway.
No, not really. I mean, you can do that. You can just get investing laws for 2 or 3 people witnessing it. The notary public, I mean, you pay a lot of money for a notary public, but that's for a specific performance of a documentation to go through it all. So if you want to move money exchanges, it's better to have a notary public to make sure it's got that fortuitous, it's not going to. JP can't offer that.
JPs pretty well can't operate in the state.
You just don't know.
They only work here in the state.
Creatures of statute.
So that's all interesting. I'm going to get down to something called the hotspots rule. The legal mortgage can lose priority by participating in fraud or by gross negligence. So these bankers said they're practicing not gross negligence. So a legal mortgage can lose its priority. A legal estate is established by positive laws passed by state legislation through rules of obligation authorised by the Attorney General Office. So this is what's happening. We're obliged to follow state politicians because the Attorney General signed off for these bankers to do these dodgy deals. Alright? In the Adjudication Act, when conflict between positive rule of law and natural law, because we're totally working on natural law here, really get your head around this. They're on positive law, we're on natural law. It's 2 different fields of law. So these things are going to clash. Equity confronts, equity will prevail. Because they're on commerce. They're selling your product to make more money, that's commerce. But with equity, you got back with it, Whenever these two clashes, equity will prevail. As equity holds people to account by a statement of degree of specific performance. So it's important that we do our own accountancy. We can count our own money. We know, we've got paper trail, we've got the express agreement, this is our assets on this book. You go over there, who the fuck are these people? They've just gone through a royal commission. How's my name, my assets got caught up in this whirlpool? They can't prove the evidence. Well, they've got to prove the evidence in the court, and if they can't,
You win by
you win by default. Bona fide. The dollar, this is what they are. Let me finish this out. You expose that the positive rule legislation is by the negative component of the same metaphor of investment of the same legal as an easement. I.e., what they're doing is something called a dollar smollus.
What? I remember that one.
Dollar, so as in dollar. Malice, as in which is, yeah, fraud, fake, and malice fraud. The strategy is to follow the dollar smollus trust funds easements, as is their bullshit contract. The metaphor of investment is an idea of a fund preservation, its identity during the change of investment. So there's another thing here, what we're doing up here is a fund preservation. Yeah, heaps of cool words here, isn't there? Right? So we're just offering a fund preservation, Your Honour. Because that corporate dude there is sweating after the Royal Commission, he's practicing dollar smollus. It's implied, this one's expressed, there's the equity, specific ones. Do you know your Latin, Your Honour? No, well what the fuck are we doing in your court?
Yeah.
Can we find someone who knows the rule of law? Please! We have the right to appeal for pure justice. Well, meanwhile, while we're doing that, we're building this up through a notary public. So we're building the Futura over the way. So it's all there, isn't it? Equity strives to present a trust and falling into the level of an unsecured creditor. And right now it's very unsecured out there, isn't it? Right. So when you do that, ante-symptom debt. There is no presumption whatever that by my will I intend to satisfy a debt that I have not yet incurred. So if you get your name off the list, I'm stopping the debt. Where's the fuck? I'm proving this, so ante-symptom, I do not will this no more. We've got to stop this.
Don't consent.
The presumption of satisfaction by the creditor can emerge a pro tanto, where one cannot claim the legacy of a debt by an act of redemption. So the idea is why you're doing the satisfaction, you get a fund preservation by redemption, I suppose would be a good way to put it. Then everything becomes pro tanto, no debt. So we can stop. We come together and present a group documentation. Now, this is the fun part. The presumption of satisfaction by credit can emerge pro tanto, where one cannot claim the legacy of a debt by acts of redemption, when the destruction of an existing obligation is deemed through a revocable instrument, and I said that's what they're doing, they're doing weekly revocable instrument, is to be redeemed into a hodgepodge rule. Okay, now we're going to change it. This is hodgepodge rules of fun. Has anyone heard of hodgepodge?
That's what we have on Thursday night from
Rob, just back on the judge, I think we have the right to seek the grant of leave to a higher jurisdiction.
Okay, yeah. Yep. As soon as it gets too confusing for them, that's a benefit to us. But what we want to set up is we want to set up a relationship so we can create that. That's the idea of the res.
Yep.
So we tell them what the higher authority is, instead of them, they don't know, we tell them. And that's going to the Court of Chancery, through the Privy Council. Really want to anchor into that modicum of confidence of the title deeds not to be part of it, security. That's going to be the end smacker. So we sneak up on it. So the hodgepodge rule. So everyone's digging that so far as Australia, right? Right. So I just want to build on this hodgepodge rule. This is the magic of it. Because I know I'm talking to you guys, and you're going, yeah, good, yeah, good. But I'm going up 2 weeks' time, I'm going to talk to Aboriginal elders. I won't be saying this. Okay. But I'll be going from their composure of what their laws are all about. But that, it's a matter of them trusting a mutual process. So what is hodgepodge? Under the hodgepodge rule is the protection of an individual against joint administration tribunal is upon the establishment of laws, social customs, habits or moral assumptions of a community as upon various historical foundations premises. Next one. So Joe's next locky is down Canungra with your mob line. You've got your own spirituality down there, we've heard of it. It was syntropic, right?
Syntropic life, yeah.
Syntropic life, right. Well, they've got their own social mores. And we're not going to go in and evangelise them, this is why you've got to change your attitude. Go for it, that's a hotspot rule. So I'm going to the Jungle mob. Obviously they've got their custom and usage rights. Well, that's a hodgepodge rule there, that's a hodgepodge rule there. You talk to Lily, what you're saying in Tasmania, whatever, they're going to know. So everyone can have their own social mores, but the whole thing is they just agree with the estate of what we're doing, so it's a hodgepodge rule. You get a very different entity, doesn't matter what you know. If you've got your own memorandum of understanding and create your own social laws, and you want to come into a lex loci, a particular community, as reflected in the particular community it creates, by composing of such laws, it will offer a separation and delegation of powers towards possible judicial review of foreign administration actions upon moral assumptions of the community. The knowledge upon the record crown through a justice peace of notary public office or through our own office. So one of the things is with the social mores, it's really important that you'll get your mores stated. I.e. you can put it as a public record, get a JP to sign off and to get that data. And we can show that process. So it's kind of like what's the memorandum of understanding of making syntropic registered as a group, and all your assets can come under that heading, and then we can meet you in that whatever miles. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now if you can't do that, we can offer the record for it on our agency. As soon as you come on our agency, we're noting you for you. But it's only this hotspot rule. Because even before government, the Crown had Crown officers. So when they went all around the colonies, initially everyone had to create their own social mores, didn't they? So Christianity had all these funky ways of being Christian. I mean, especially the Roman Catholic Church, when it first started, wasn't your powerful Pope, you know. The initial way the Catholic Church colonised into the pagans, if you want to call it, was really, the Druids had this god which wasn't physical, it was all trees and all that, you know what I mean? And they had this great, beautiful, amazing myth. And most of it was coming through the goddesses, the women. The goddess power was in balance with the male power. There was no cat and dog fight there. Sure, there was power, but there was no good and evil, there was otherworlds and underworlds. Right? So when the Celts came in, they didn't have, and the myth, it was all myth, so there was no clock here, there was no time. There was no Monday to Friday as a Celt, there was no clock. There was no abstractions of time, there was a lot more sensual and everything was third dimensional, fourth and fifth dimensional, they were astral travellers if you like, you know, and that was the norm. Same with indigenous people here. Then in comes a monk, he's got pen and paper, or a saint like St. Patrick. And he had a few people when he got pen and paper. Then once he wrote the mythical story down and put a date on it, he created time. He turned the story into fact and he began history. History, from the myth into history. So all that magical, like the Bourne River, they just put a statue there and called it St. Bridget. All the Celtic myths got poured into St. Bridget. And then everything became on record, Christianised around that myth. Yeah? And that's it. Then you go over the hill into Wales and they had St. Rihanna or St. Dennis, and all these saints were swallowing up all these myths into these individual Catholic, the start of the Catholic churches, where they were bastardising the myths. But there was no one central power back in Rome in those days. Right? But it was all about this hotspot social wars. That's how it all started. So you can write up, you know, your syntropic, and put it down into a one-page vision statement, what you are. It's kind of representation of your group as a whole.
What we've done.
Well, there you go. That's the hotspot.
Yeah.
So it's good if you put on it gets on the 6th ring, and then with Paul, I'm going up the jungle mob, and I'll show you this little template we can offer. And Paul offers one, then you can meet Paul's community. And you can do some sort of trade between Paul's community and yours, because there's a common denominator of how we can meet without heap up and clashing. And it's the same if you've got that land in Tasmania, we can develop on that. So, Murray Mob wants to go to Tasmania, they've got a place to meet. And share culture that way. Sounds good? Yeah. So with Paul, so with me mate Paul, he's got land up North Queensland. They've got heaps of land actually. 100 square miles of land. It's not on one big land, it's all these different block tenements, you know. But basically you've got this one land, it's called Mount Eagle. So it's a great name. And it's crown land, it's no government land on it at all, which is good. So Paul's got this, and he's got this really, you know, when you're talking Indigenous brothers, he's got really deep, rich cultural stories, you know, it's fascinating. So it's beautiful, Paul, but how do you get people to travel practically 2 hours out of Cairns to come up there, you know? So he went through his art journal, and he really liked it, and of course, I'm sure I'm talking about perception, kinds of form, film and world, but also that's a fire story. That's a spirit story, that's a water story, that's an earth story, that's an air story. So these 5 elements go right around the planet. So Paul's, Junglin's got a fire story, you've got an ether story, you've got a water story, and an earth story. So you go up to the next Aboriginal model, they've got another fire dreaming story. And as long as there's an identification that they can associate with these colours. You know? So on Paul's block of land, we want to create a university on this new river. Because in the university, you can create your own social structure as an education process. It's outside the realm of the populace, which is a civilisation getting going by the Attorney General's office. So the university's got its own autonomy. So on the land we're thinking about, let's turn this land into kind of like a pilgrimage and walk where we go through the fire and we walk up to the east end and we walk into the water hole, walk into the earth, and this could be a 5k walk or whatever, and into the wheel, and that's where we can build all these little yurts and humpies for people to live around. So people can, we can do all the fire paint work, fire dance work there, and people go up there and do the spirit work, water work. So it's a template of structure and how people can work within their own community, create their own law, but express it in a template. So Paul's keen for that. So that as a product, and then I've got all these schematic plans how you can do alternative building and energies and everything can go around that community. Right? And then we put this Victoria rule against the local council because they've got no authority over this as Aboriginal through Mabo. But this So Paul's really digging it. And this is one thing why Greg wants to do the blockchain is because if we do this as one template up here, we can do that in all Indigenous communities around the Commonwealth. The law structures around the 5 elements. And that's a social law, that's a hotspot rule. Can you dig it? So with the Irish, you know, Ireland's broken into 4 provinces. Leinster, Ulster, Munster, and in the middle is Tara. So there's all Ireland in there, isn't it? Right, so there's the Celtic North side, the 4 gates. That is also the architect design of the Throne of David. 4 temple gates, holy, outer court, middle court, inner court, holy of the holies. It's also the same temple design as Shambhala. So this is what the Jews are trying to do. They've got an idea. They get the land of Israel, and as soon as they build the throne of David on Israel, as soon as they finish building, peace and earth will come. There's only one problem. It's only 1 square mile. Huh? No, the problem is, Islam's got the Dome of the Rock on that 1 square mile. They've got to demolish the Dome of the Rock before they can build the Temple of Peace. That's what the whole fucking shit fight's about. Right? And the Jews believe that once they build up the power of the Temple of Peace, the Throne of David, peace and earth will come. But they're shooting every fucking on the way to get there. That is the whole purpose of Israel, to build that Throne of David. And you've got to knock down the Dome of the Rock. And they're both brothers. It's tricky, isn't it? But this thing story is when it comes to the Christian, those are the Jews, the Croto God. When Jesus came along, he brought in this thing called the Heavenly Father. And the Spirit, the temple is the Spirit. And that's the whole Buddhist thing, is that if you got your body into a pure temple, then you create the Shambhala environment around it. It's in a revelation to build outside peace. But the Jews are going from it's kind of like an outside expectation that we manipulate materialism in this way, then we bring inner peace. You know, dig the two? So this one is an inner dialogue. As soon as you get peace in yourself and you know your own will, then you can build your own environment. So that's the hotspots rule we want to do. When we got the template, we want to land it. When we've got the Treaty of Innocence, that's kind of like the capitalist, that's an archetype for people getting involved, but we've got to land that Treaty of Innocence. Because it's Celtic, if we do it really properly, we're going to land it in Ireland.
In Tara.
And what colour's Tara? Green Tara. This is Celtic myth, man. I just got to put a story in it.
Where does the pyramid come from?
Oh, that's Atlantis, which is another model altogether, It's a story about there's a war between the Atlantis and the Lemurians. So this is a Lemurian continent. Atlantis was dealing with technology and crystals and all that, but the Lemuria was dealing with the power of drums, meditation, and magic instead of technological magic. So fundamentally, why they're doing all this Egyptian magic on Australia, it doesn't stick so much. Because astrologically, the star systems, they don't have the Southern Cross up in the north than we do, so it's a different star magic, you know, like. So we've got this Lemurian. So the real thing is the real power to build beat Atlantic magic with all these technology things that get yourself branding and dance, you know. Trusted vocals and sing in groups. And they don't want us to be in groups. They don't want us to be organic.
Blood wars.
Huh?
Blood wars.
The blood wars.
What's that, sorry?
The molecules disassociation.
Yeah, they don't want that. They want to keep you separate units. Become a board. That's the Atlantic pyramid. Huh? Yeah, the whole thing. Everyone's trying to fight with the sleazer. That's what Republic creates the sleazers, you know. But and that's masculine power. That's why you always get the letter A from masculine. But when you get that as the female. So yeah, when you look at that, is that a pyramid sticking out or is it a cone coming in? It's more, because when you actually do the workshop,
Don't come in, I'll say.
yeah, it's going, because when you do the workshop, the whole thing about Zen, I don't offer you any more, I'm stripping the shit off you. The more baggage you strip off you, the more freedom happens. So that's what it's all about, it's going into a death cycle. Well, our aim, they want that pyramid guy, everyone wants to climb to the top and be a boss man at the expense of others. Competition, as competition, that's compassion. You know, so the whole Buddhist philosophy is basically sit still. These guys climb to the top, be active. So there's another thing with Buddhism, be still in your action, you know. If you do it so much, you got your stillness and don't get caught up in the rush.
Empty mind.
Yeah.
So the Druids came from Atlantis.
Well, that's how the Irish were. Then they have, that's how the island of Ireland moved up.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Well, apparently what I know is that the Druids weren't the original people on Ireland. You heard the folklore?
Yeah.
Right, they were there on there. And they had the kind of like the one-eyed drag, the one-eyed bull. And it's the same, it was a cyclops, they called it a bull. And Goliath was one eye. Yeah. So here's David coming around with a slingshot, and it's also God ducked it. Right? And David he had 5 stones, 5 camels, but one of the stones hit Goliath in the eye. Now what Goliath was, and the same with Balaam, he was the dragon energy. They had they had no mentality what, and this didn't, even with indigenous people, the north and south, east and west, abstractly didn't exist. It was a thinking principle of it. You know, and they were just with nature of land. So it was territorial. And everyone in the tribe was territorial. So they had their customs or what it means to be territorial and that. So that was the odds. But when Dagda came into Fort Noah's Nord of the Silver Hand, he destroyed Goliath. And David threw the stone in Goliath's eye and he killed him. And then he brought in, well, the Tuatha the tribes of Dana, they brought in the magic of the sword, the stone, the water, and they started praying in 4 directions.
Meets and bounds.
Yeah. And they had another magical instrument Dagda had and David had was the harp. Now how could a harp be a very magical instrument? How could the harp destroy the 7 octaves? So he turned sound into 7. And then we had north, south and east, and that's where we become abstract. Right? Something very powerful in that. So when you come to indigenous people, they didn't have the 7 octaves here in Australia. Not calculated, not written. Not saying they didn't blow it, but it wasn't abstract. And north, north, south and out, west and east. So when we're coming in, we're throwing all this civilisation on these people, just, fuck me, man, you might understand it. You've had 2,000 years of this abstract history, and everything, all these fucking rules of the game shit. And we expect them to throw them on the first or second meeting that we made when they're still doing that, the tribal dance, territorial dance. So, but the one thing we've got in connection with them is those 5 element colours. It's universal. And technically the throne of David's based on those 5 doors. That's why I've got the doors written. That's what you Jew boys are after, is please stop shaking bullets and just breathe deep, please. So you do the planet a lot fucking healthy.
So when we do our coat of arms, Ross, we need to be using those 5 colours.
No, not really.
Not necessarily.
You could do, but when I do this journal, I actually help people discover their own story in that. Because I get people to draw their totems while they're going through that, bit by bit. So I was explaining before, when you're doing your habits and you're smoking or you're drinking or whatever you're partying, you're actually trying to sink something, you're blind. And I had this experience in Tasmania. Once I used to drink beer and I put the beer down once and I realised the cause and effect. I realised, fuck, that's alcohol in there. I'm just drinking this blind, you know what I mean? And I'm looking around and I'm starting to notice that the sea ebbs and flows and tides and, you know. And I'm starting to perceive my own habits. Then I start to get curious about myself. I was perceiving, why am I frustrated all the time? How am I supposed to be a good worker? Well, sometimes I just want to fuck that chick, I just want to punch that guy. That's not me talking, this nature's coming out, and I'm not in control of it. So that one's when I'm starting to find traces of my totem. Why I'm getting angry, I'm punching or whatever, follow them up, well that's good because that totem's your real nature. So it's really important that you turn that nature into a creature. Because where your creature is, and you move the letters of the creature around, you become a creator. But if you're not in control of the creature, you're not creating. Because you're always reverting back to the sad sucker.
Basal.
Huh?
Basal.
Basal. So then you get conscious of it. So you've got to tame this by understanding what God is connected to your creature. So the church has cut that out through sin. Because we call our creature sex and it's all sin and devil stuff, and we're going for this golden kingdom of heaven. So that's where we're trapped up in this kingdom of heaven stuff. Pagans down below, see? But the pagans doing the dancing. But we don't dance because we're good Christian soldiers. Then you go through to break the ignorance. Well, that's all abstract. I'm not going to abstract. And this is what you break down in the whole philosophy. And then you go into the blue. And in the blue is where my blue is 65 acres of forest, and I just sit happily in a hermit. I don't need blue. Everyone's got this solitude place, and fuck this, I'm going by myself in the shed doing tools or whatever. Everyone's got a sacred space, and so it's what you do in there. What you do, you do something constructive, or poetry, or art, or do you hit the drink and get the medicine, or pills, or the drug abusers in here. You have a single crate here, do you know what I mean? So we talk about that. And this stage, you've got to be, you and the totem's got to be one now. You and your sex drive and fight drive's got to be one. You've got to start taming it here, or you can die. And then the pride is just how you let go of the time, because we are gentlemen of equity. We're gentlemen of right, not the creature. So we've got to tame it. And then when that, we go into the prayer, the feeling. And this is when you become pure spirit. Your totem's with you now, but I'm in command here, not you commanding me. And then when you go into your jealousy, that's when you go into the great void. That's when you appreciate the mystery of life, and then come back into the will. So it's a great psychological journey through this, how you drop all this baggage around. It takes 3 days, it works. But what I'm doing, I'm really trying to emphasise to bring that totem out into a drawing. So it's no use having a coat of arms. Like, my mate Jeff, he's got the silver dragon. He does not dance like a dragon. He's got no action. So whatever you draw, you've got to know that that's you. If you're not a fictional character of the government, then who are you? Right? There's something natural about you. And you once had it when you were a Celtic and you connect to that, the tribe before this artificial fiction was put on. So it does exist. So it's a great journey within. Who are you? And it's good. The tool works. I'll go in there. I'll help you out. I'll bounce you around. I won't get caught up into your lies. I'll start laughing when you lie at me. Sometimes I heck up people and I don't like them. Don't see them for 6 months. That's all right. But they come back and I'm like, you know what? Well, it's your life. If you want to keep living the lie, you're not getting your happiness. But you keep coming back. I'm telling you, mate, you've got to have a fucking hard look at yourself. Can you be responsible for being a dickhead and got yourself in this position in the first place? It's easy to blame government, but somewhere along the line you gave consent. So now that you admit you go start unwinding it, but you've got to do the whole walk and find this inner strength. So yeah, the journey is when you do your own coat of arms, then you've got to have the story of what your dance is with your coat of arms, you know? Or ours, like a lot of people, they've got a coat of arms, but it's got no story behind it, it's got no action. Your mate Jeff's claim as the King of Wales, and said, Jeff, that's a big claim, mate. You know, he's 74. He's broke. So, you know, when you do this through the course, and so we got a petition, people put their totems on, but I don't expect that. That's just a signature that won't change. But the core people doing that new rubric, you know, you're coming down to not only the 6th ring, but you've got to come down to Worth on the 4th ring. You actually start making money for yourself, which actually the rewards are coming back to you. Then they're the crew, that centre crew that we want to work with, you know, the men of strength. And many have got destinations, so you're keen, and you've got strong style like you go, invite me to your lands in Ireland, mate. Invite me to your lands in Macedonia. Huh? What can you do?
Can you dance?
I can dance.
You're invited.
There's like your mate Rob in the Philippines, says, I'll invite you to my land, but geez, I wouldn't want you fat, everyone's going to give you food. So he's got an ancestor home back in the Philippines. So for him, he's pretty solid on that. He actually got family connected to it. So that's not a hard task for him. Yeah, so this movement. Yeah. So do you guys have movement? Is another thing, you know? I mean, on a big scale. I appreciate coming to the estate in Brisbane, that's a movement.
I know what you're thinking. He's talking about backyard members.
Well, if anything, it's stimulating and adventurous for your own mind, you know?
Didn't tell that to you. Only when it comes to
You don't want to go that long.
Any questions? Any more about the coat of arms? Anyone want to follow up on that? Now, when it comes to the coat of arms, you don't need to, I mean, you mate Gary, he'd done his coat of arms and he went a bit overboard. You know, because another thing is that he got excited, he's putting all these pictures in there. Yeah. He actually drew the bunyip in it. Bunyip. I think, Gary, the fuck you got the bunyip in there? What do you know about bunyips? Because he believes in bunyips in Geelong and all this. I said, that's fantasy, mate. Can you actually walk the bunyip dreaming, mate? Because once you draw the bunyip in, you're going to bring an Aboriginal who's got bunyip dreaming. He's going to check you, you've got bunyip totem or not, mate. No, you know, be careful what you draw in there. So when I went in, he wiped it out and put the dragon back in there. So that's good. I mean, so there's a big thing when you draw your totem, man. Don't get caught up with fantasies. When you draw your coat of arms, the images are there to represent the characteristics of your estate and what you can manage. And when you draw those images, you're really subconsciously drawn to get other people to approach you on that level. Does that make sense? So that whole thing when I showed you that line, he's only got one tile. Then you see your girlfriend has got two tiles on the line. Well, those two tiles is two different families. Very distinguished on that. That's why I joke we've got the silver dragon with the red claws on it. Don't introduce me to the silver dragon with the yellow claws, mate. Yeah, they're a bit dodgy. But the red claws. So subtle things like that are very powerful in the coat of arms. The colour of the claws. What type of crown they're standing on. There's all different types of crowns. It represents different periods of time in history. It also represents different authorities. Okay? And because that line's got on all fours, some of them are rampant, some have got 3 in the foot and 1 up, you know, some are just a 2. It's a fascinating study, the coat of arms, because it represents family ancestors that you want to deal with. You know.
You were mentioning earlier about replacing your fiction signature with your coat of arms, with your seal.
Yeah.
As far as what government documentation, anything that you would ordinarily sign, what you're putting your seal instead, is that?
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, we can. There's another trick with the seal, the signs, you know, ellipse, you know what I mean?
Yeah, your 3 dots.
Yeah.
I'd like to see your license, see your seal on your license. You know, is it?
A lot of people ask me what do you do with the license, and I'm kind of, I want a bigger stuff.
Yeah.
And I just want to drive Adhering. I don't mind paying $700 just with Adhering and the whole insurance stuff and all that. I do piss off the coppers that jumping on with the film, finding that. But for me, And I have got a licence just to drive the highway. Fair enough, but a lot of people are spending so much time on that issue. It's a minor issue compared to the bigger stuff.
I think probably for the majority of us, the reason we look at that is because that's probably, you know, there's a term, pick your battle. You know, we could do our rates or we could do a speeding fine.
Yeah.
You know, which one's got a greater loss if you don't succeed?
Yeah.
So, you know, we obviously err for the lesser. And this is probably why there's some greater focus on some of those lesser issues. Now, yeah, I appreciate you're focusing on the bigger picture and more on a community sort of basis as opposed to an individual that remedy. But yeah.
Well, look, I've got. What's that?
Well, the licences are more common, like everyone is affected by it.
Yeah.
And it can drastically affect your life. Like when they keep hitting you up for speeding or whatever, you lose your job, you go to jail, you lose your family. And it really is a big issue.
Then is it not a good place to start?
No, look, to me, Jim, there's a lot of people doing good work on that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they are punching, banging, and I'm quite sure.
But it's not your focus.
Well, I'm doing something else.
Yeah,
I could get in there, but no one's doing what I'm doing.
yeah.
So, all God grace, there's some guys having great wins, but are they actually showing those people the remedy?
Yeah.
But
So getting back to the use of the seal though,
Yeah.
it's to be used everywhere that you would ordinarily use your...
No.
Oh, okay.
No. You can't put new wines in your old skins.
Yeah.
Right? This is what Jesus said.
Good analogy.
So this is a big misnomer. I'm trying to say something new really. But you can't bring your old attitudes and your old lifestyle into something new.
Yeah, right.
Bring the whole attitude. Now, the whole idea is you can come over and supersede and come back in there and purify it. But this is the whole thing of the pride. You're somewhere in the argument, somewhere along the line you've got to die, brother.
Yeah.
Kim's got to die.
Yep. Yeah.
So you're not Kim, who are you? You get the strength.
Just on about that, I noticed in your videos you mentioned post-laminium. Is that not that process?
Post.
Post-laminium.
You know what was I forgot 3 years ago.
You didn't really dwell on it, but there was a mention of it, and I understand that is where you sort of hand back the identity or the fictitious entity, and you move on.
Yeah, to me the fictitious entity, fiction, Hollywood, the batteries are going dull in the movie theatre.
Yeah.
Alright? So I have another right, I have a natural right, not positive right, natural right, to characterise myself. So I've got my seal.
Yeah.
So I'm a seal from Kuro. So I want to create this society with other natural beings, and we want to be smart enough that when this start to implode, we don't implode with it, that we, through this documentation in the note, we take our assets over here. Now the more we take our assets, it's kind of yin and yang effect. The more they shrink, it's because they're not holding the bluff over us because we've got a better life. So the more we cross over, the less they exist. But while we're in there fighting, they exist.
Yeah, well, you're giving them energy for a start.
Yeah, this is the whole thing with the police, the police checking. You know, you've got cop cars and you've got that, on the cop cars you've got the checkerboards, you know?
Yes. What's that called, Neville?
They're the Masonic blue and white checkers.
Yeah. So it was Clan Stewart that had this. Does anyone know that? Scotland Yard.
Is that good and evil?
So when the Knights Templars first came into Solomon's Temple, that was on the floor of Solomon's Temple, right? They picked it up, and then when I went into Rossum Chapel after Philip the Fair chased them, that floor was on, still is on Rossum Chapel's floor. Rosslyn Chapel was built like Solomon's Temple's temple, right? Then, at that time, the kings of Scotland were the MacDonalds, the Celts, on the west coast. And there was this dude who came out through Henry V time who was the Stuart, first king of the Stuarts, James Stuart. And he had this checkerboard on his coat of arms, the Stuarts. So that's a sign that he had access, the Stuarts had access to that Knights Templar magic, temple building. So when King James VI of Scotland became King James I, that's when Scotland Yard started in England. Alright? So the whole idea, if you've got an idea, and the crosses are black and white. So if you hit one department, it's called compartmentalisation, right? Once you hit one department, the other departments are squeezed in. So the old idea is to get through the oscillation between the black and white. There's movement of space between the black and white. So you've got to get through that oscillation of the cracks, or evidential thinking. That's that magic. So Freemasonry has a whole, but it can't be black and white. Alright, so once you go into court, it's all about, here's the evidence of fact. As soon as you go into the court, they don't give a fuck. You're in the business still, dude. You're not going to win. Because we've got all these other squares that come around. You might have a little victor in the square, and we'll exhaust you in these other squares.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the idea is not to get in that floor plan at all. So he was the first, that wasn't the real Celtic kings. That was when he had kind of like this Freemasonry king. So it was the Stuarts who had the unicorn as their totem. So when he became the King of Scotland, England, he had the lion and the unicorn, which we still have on the royal courts now. So from the Tudors, they had the dragon. And they were more Celtic. So there's a war between the unicorn and the dragons. We're talking spirit here. So when I show the Aboriginal people all this, then I look at the words and go, hey, brother, what's that silver dragon in there? Yeah, well, mine's a golden ribbon. My first half hour was talking about totems. And I said, yeah, well, did you know there's the lion and the unicorn? So I tell them about the unicorn magic, what family it came through. Because all this, they're interested in family history. The lion and the dragon, and here our seal's got the kangaroo and the emu. So don't go into those courts, mate. Don't talk, it's a kangaroo court. We've got a dragon court, dragon seal. So there's a lot of magic and trust with Indigenous people when you know your own ancestors. So yeah, I'm quite aware that the Stuart family is not Celtic. And they came in and they were the ones who brought the seal or the royal courts. It's not a royal court, but the seal, you know, the one you see the lion unicorn. And that's all about empirical rule of conveyancing evidence without fact. So we can don't get caught up in the evidence of fact. We've got this spirituality going, and this is this whole female progress of court of love. They don't work in the court of love.
No way.
But it does exist. So yeah, I don't want to waste time beating them on tickets. These coppers come up with I'll just say, here's the house of Stuart, I'll pay the ticket, fuck off. I'll go over the bigger stuff, but somewhere along the train, somewhere along the line, these coppers have got to be educated that they've been tricked.
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
Somewhere.
Someone asked yesterday why the unicorn was in chains.
Yeah.
And Wayne and I were looking at this a couple of weeks ago, and I remember I continued to look, and I discovered that one of the kings, the story was interesting, but essentially he chained the unicorn as a threat to everybody else because apparently the unicorn was powerful.
Mm.
I sort of
and it's chained as a threat to everybody to let them know how powerful I am.
well, yeah, it was something along those lines. I read a similar thing that said basically that man had the ability to tame the unicorn, and it was a sign of this strength. Again, it was this strength that he actually tame and control the unicorn, that the power of the unicorn. So same sort of
Yeah,
concept.
but essentially the chain is a metaphor for you better watch out because I'll do the same to you. So I think that's what the chain is on the unicorn.
Yeah.
I think Winston was saying something about the unicorn
Yeah.
being substituted for, there was something before it, and the unicorn was signified Israel.
No, the lion.
Jerusalem.
The lion is the tribe of
Scotland
Judah.
is the unicorn.
Yeah, Israel. Right.
But they got the lion. The lion is the tribe of Judah. So when the Normans invaded England,
Yeah.
the English or the Saxon kings at the time, their banner was the wyvern. That was my one.
Yes.
Right, so the lion came in with the Normans,
Okay.
and the Plantagenets brought in 3 lions.
But that's
So,
the unicorn.
When they brought that in, the lion represents the tribe of Judah. That's when the whole Jews' morality came.
Right.
But with the dragons, they didn't have that.
Now it's been a question
They're
of
more,
research.
the counts worked off ethics more than morality. There's no 10 commandments.
A couple of weeks.
Is the lion in the Wizard of Oz representing the same thing then?
No, I think he just represents courage.
The sovereign,
Yes.
The
the
sorry.
king of
That was a scheme.
Yeah.
he's looking for courage.
Yeah, the rules mention it. So, yeah, totems are very, do you have any idea, Warren, what's in your family totem? The creature's very important. The creature's very important. Some of them don't have them, some of them just have flowers.
Yours would just be a slimy snake or something, wouldn't it? Right?
Hey, what are you trying to say?
I've made a seal, and I'm just wondering if I've made a mistake or not. My seal, and I haven't made an abatement or a crest yet, but my seal, I've got because I was born Neville-blooded Michelangelo. Michelangelo is Croatian, but it's actually, my sister said Michelandros is Spartan in Greek. So maybe 500 years down the track, some Greek fella came to Croatia, and now Michelangelo, which is really Michelandros, is Greek. So in my seal, I've got the centaur, because the centaur represents the struggle for humanity.
Yeah.
And there's a very interesting story in Greek mythology about the centaur and this struggle for humanity. And most centaurs were drunk and bad, but some were wise and intelligent and good. And the other a creature in my seal is the willy wagtail.
All right.
And ironically, when I was a little kid at Kew State, I remember 1960, it would have been 1967, Mr. Amos, I remember his name, I can't believe it. He took me into his room and he made me look in his office. No, he took me into his office. I was obviously reprimanded for something. And he forced me to have a look at this thing. Have a look at these. No, it was a poster of birds. And he raved on about the willy wagtail. And I fell in love with this woolly wagtail, believe it or not. So while I was reminiscing about this while doing my seal, I discovered that in Aboriginal folk lore, when the Aborigines went to go on an excursion, if they saw a woolly wagtail on the morning of the gathering, they wouldn't go because he would tell all the secrets. So I've got him there as well.
Yeah, he's the lawman, apparently. A lot of women get scared they sit with that.
Is that okay for your
You told me, man.
No, I'm just trying to...
Some of that history, though.
You're still keeping in touch with that story. Sorry.
Just reading between the lines there.
You corrected me.
That's a short one, that is interesting.
No, read up the story. You can research.
Well, she came on to us. Well, when you get the history, they all do all those hereditary lines. She's got the proof of facts.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pieces they just make the lines and make the pedigree a lot more bigger than that. Huh?
Does that have to be done? Because I know it's based on trying to be the one that's not actually.
Oh, there's some in there that's just kernels or flowers. A lot of them got flowers. But that represents land. Somewhere where you got your coat of arms, you are representing, you had that coat of arms as a title to land. It's very important. So, and another thing, if you go, it's very important when you do estates and do your coat of arms, and you do some sort of historical lineage about your ancestors, it's got to land somewhere. And that can be difficult for a lot of people. And sometimes some people just can't, and somewhere along the line you've got to stop searching. You know, because you don't like that land because they've got seafront or something. That's not the issue. And there are a lot of people who do get caught up in the past, and somewhere along the line you've got to bring it into the present. So when it comes, and who are you going to show it to? So when you show it to us, I think it was you, Wayne, that you talked to someone over in England and said it cost you $9,000 to register a coat of arms. Well, sure, you could register, and what they do is they just lock it up in their file. Then what? What services does it offer? What's the value? But that's a bit of a con. $9,000 must be prestige over in London. And what information do you gave him? Is there open disclosure, or what's he doing with your estate and some sort of bank account? I don't know. So when it comes to the sixth ring, and you want to come on our sixth ring under the epitome, we'll make it that's okay. We've been involved saying you can reshape and redevelop it as you go. Right? It's not permanent, not static. Yeah, because you know the story always changes, but there's got to be some reference point of being consistent here. Yeah, so if you find someone in Macedonia and you're not too sure, it doesn't matter, just pin it. We're not in Macedonia, but it just gives us a reference point where you are. Now, if by the karma or whatever you grow and we go over there, things can unfold for you there. But don't get over anxiety if it's right or wrong. It's not the issue. The real issue is that we're just creating a new character to create a whole different essence of ourselves. Okay? And then when we go into this fictitious court, we say, well, everything we're doing, this whole new Rubik, hotspots rule, airlog rule, and here's the express composition of this character because it's not that fictional payhead person that you've got no evidence exists. It's been deemed, but this is deemed through her own sovereignty, her own expression. So it's up to her, and we agree with her principles. And it's up to us to adjudicate your future, not them pockets. That's the whole point. But obviously, we can do that, but when you go out on the fit and people want to invest in you, well, can we, I don't know, which is I wouldn't mind going to Macedonia, but then it's in the face if you've got that. You know.
Right, you can do.
And well, mate, can keep them in 6 rings up the ante. But the whole point of it, when you've got the coat of arms on our register, as I said, we're going to Jupiter, which is the product side. The idea of Mars, that's where your action is. That's when you're going to start moving in Macedonia. So you might just get lost on Mars. But the whole idea is to keep yourself back on that place of Earth. That's the goal. That's your aim. It's an aim to get the mortgage off your own backyard, right? So that's what we will help you get. But we can't do it. So if you go in there and you get in some sort of action in the court, that might 10, 20 years. Well, that's because you're not sharp enough to move through it. You know? But we're open the way. What we're doing, we can move this through this really quick as a group. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure it does.
Yeah, so if you come in with your coat of arms, totally different character, and that story that you said, fucking great, mate. Right, but at the end you laughed at yourself. Why?
No, I just,
No,
they were just giving me some gay hell over there.
That's when you get the shell up and bang.
Yeah, that's what I was laughing about. No, what I did was I loved what I did.
That's good. Well, you won't expect to invest with them, would you?
And next time take a pepper.
But can you see it all? Now, sometimes we'll walk through it, but if people just want to stay out in those rings, that's fine. We've got this We can do all sorts of art journal workshops, whatever. A lot of people just need someone else to offer them a safe space right now, like kids. Right, so that's really important for the adults. The leaders can offer safe space for them. But with this university idea we want to do in the land, we like to set it for when we come in, we offer an education. It's not going to be industrial or another technical university. You know? We want to do this law university, but our job is to protect it by LAW as a safe sanctuary place so we can actually do law and make it expandable. From one law place to another. Now, in the Bible, it's there. You look at the prophecies of Ezekiel. It says the coming of the ancestors. So when you do your coat of arms, you're writing your ancestors through the coat of arms. See? So when you're doing, you've got your story, you've got your song, your old Celtic song, you actually start playing for your ancestors, and they'll come through and back you up. It's not the independent individual clone going on. That enough is going to smash it, spiritually. You start breaking the shackles of you, poor me, Aussie victim citizen. It's just a mental plane, people. It's a tricked mental plane. You've been tricked in this little part of the mind. You do dance, alright? You do sing, you do drink, and you do fuck. You do fight, so do it. Instead of just being, oh, poor me person in the first degree, first A grade, first prime country in the world. You've got the best planners, best country in the world to do this. Really. So just break the shackles. You know, the tarot card, the devil, all they've got to do is just take the chains off your chakras. They're not locked. Just got to pick them up and let it go. That's enough. And like Buddhism saying, Buddhism's one breath away. I'm free now. Now I do the free stuff. So it's all a matter of decision, it's all a matter of attitude and more action and being vigilant, working your homework. But one thing we want to offer, we want to develop, and I'm now making hermit hole, and if I talk to Rob, come mate, let's go in action because these people are going to email me. We got work to set this up. I'm going to talk to Greg, the merchant bank. Come Greg, I've got some interest, mate. And if you enjoy this conversation, I can bring Greg up here. I've got to tame him though. Greg hasn't tamed his, he hasn't tamed his creature. He's a bit wild boy over here. I'm going to pull him back a bit, you know, because he over speculates. He's got this great idea for you all. He's one of those guys, you know.
We can exchange negotiable instruments.
Yeah.
Credit union and mental arts.
Yeah, well, it'd be good to talk, because I'm learning on that. I'm still learning myself, you know, I don't know it all. For an indicator, I've got all this settled, as you appreciate, I've got this comfortable, I've got that mate, but for everyone's got to take the next step of growth, and this is my next step of growth. I'm talking to him, and talk to this bishop dude, the notary public, and really start moving this instrument. And the doorways here, we can put your assets on top of that as a joint venture. But, you know, we appreciate the whole song bit, inner healing, it's a lot of fun, you know, it's very important for us to grow as human beings. That's another aspect, because that's investable. People put money, they know the kid's going to get some sort of health out of it. Land, like we said, Joe, you've got land, the Aboriginals got some land, you've got some land, Tassie or these people in the Sunshine Coast, they've got land, they want to develop land for people to come in, campfire, do the men's workshops. It's a lot more invested. Because it's interaction with the human makes the community, yeah? And that's where we've got to go. We've got to really communicate and do something beautiful instead of just think about it, yeah? Right. Can I finish up with that?
Yeah.
Has anyone got any questions on the top there?
Can I just go backwards a little bit? I'm pretty sure that, you know, the question that Kim asked about the licences,
Yeah.
I think in general what he was asking, correct me if I'm wrong, was, you know how we use a signature on, for example, a licence. Forget that it's a licence, say it's any other paperwork. I think what he was asking was, do we use a seal instead?
No.
Is that the question you were asking?
Well, that was it in a nutshell, yeah.
It's not like
Yeah,
that,
no,
no.
it wasn't specific to a licence.
No, don't use a seal in the old
But
part.
this is where we need to dump the fiction and
That's
move on.
right. That's right.
Yeah,
Just acknowledge it. Put the dots on it. You know what the dots are?
Yeah, the ellipse.
Yeah, so you got
VC or by or
Ross Drake,
there's a number of ways.
International.
3 dots at the behind, basically saying I've got something else to say. 3 dots in front, we had something to say, but they wouldn't let me, they arrested me.
International SOS.
Yeah.
There was another question that sort of rolled over from yesterday. Tony was asking about, have you got examples of how you, what was it, how you, Mark, help me out, how you get the, not change the jurisdiction, but how you direct the court into equity, was
How do
it?
you invoke it?
How do you invoke equity?
Yeah.
By what question? you ask?
Well,
And you said you had some example paperwork that
well,
you
well,
had done up.
you just look up the Procedures Act of the courts. I haven't got an example here, but there's heaps of different ways how you can lift from one court to another through their own acts. It's all written in there. But you've got to know which court deals with your argument. So when you go to the Supreme Court, you just say, County Court 6 and 6 and B deals with this argument, so I've got to go from your court to this argument because I'm asking for my argument in this court. So the magistrate, what's the court in the magistrate? It's just
Magistrate, judge or justice.
yeah, they just deal with penalties and fines.
Yeah.
They don't deal with laws.
No.
Do you de jure the application forms or do you use their application forms?
Use theirs.
You say,
Yeah.
you're receiving grace,
You
but
can make additions to it, but they won't acknowledge private paperwork. We did all that in 99, 2000, so we can't follow it. You can't. What they're saying is they can't see it because it's private, they're public. When trying to
But that's
readjust their thing,
that's what makes me wonder.
they're in the public.
That's what makes me wonder whether you can actually bring ever a constitutional argument into a corporate court. And considering even the High Court is a corporate
you
court.
can't.
have to
No, you can't.
take to the High Court.
Yeah, but even the High Court is still a corporate court, though, isn't it?
It has a jurisdiction that is away from public.
hear about that guy who Liverpool Plains went through the Supreme Court, which was interesting. His old bloke, he had heaps of old cars.
Yeah, that's Rumble.
Rumble said, so he got a trespass QC from Rumble.
Yeah.
And he came over and he said to the judge, is this a corporate court or a public court? And he said, the corporate court, so I'm not having a hearing again. And then he got the judge of the public court, so I'm willing to present him in the case of a public court, not a corporate court. So he determined which court. Then he got the Local Government Act and he just tore it up. And the barriers from the local government said, I've got the argument here. Because it's trespass. And so that goes right through the sides right now, not the trespass.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was kind of precedent. And then they try and Mickey Mouse it a bit. But that's a good example. Stated for simple, the old law is trespass, put it in their face, put it in their nose. You've got to give them notice. Let them know that you know. And then it's stated, and then if they traverse that notice, then they're in trouble.
Go to trespass.
Yeah.
Plenty of High Court precedents for that.
Yeah,
That's it. Dylan versus Plenty.
That's one.
that's another one. So you've got to give them notice. So this is this thing that while we do systemic performance and while we're growing, we give notices out to everyone. We're growing.
Yep.
We're not waiting, we're being proactive here. But the more people understand this language, the more we grow, the more punch. So really, you're really nice guys, but in the law, the real punch is with the Aboriginal issue of law on land.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, and because they're tribal and because they've got the grunt to do something quick and different.
It's starting to look like.
Yes. Notice that.
Yeah. I mean, that's where my spirit's lying with up North Queensland. And these guys, like I said, they're just prone to change. We've got luxury on ourselves. We're a bit sleep.
Fair.
And I know that. So just one other thing I want to talk about today, title of consent determination. What's really interesting is what happened in Western Australia. Colin Barnett, on his political front, was going to bring $1 billion mining interest into Western Australia. And there's an Aboriginal mob over there who this mining interest, the $1 billion mining interest, was going to come through this Aboriginal consent determination platform. And the Aboriginals went over there and said, no. The Barnett government took it to federal court. And the federal court said, well, it's a consent determination, and they'll say no. That's what consent means. It's not law. So they said no. So they tried to Turnbull, and they asked Turnbull to make legislation of it to force the Aboriginals. And they went back there because we don't want to tell everyone that it's not law, it's a consent determination. So it didn't happen. So Barnett couldn't get that $1 billion leaning and he lost the election. So what happened here, the Aboriginals are now realising we can start suing these pricks. Right? Now, all the mining leases in Queensland, including adhering, is built on this consent determination. Now these Aboriginals say no bankers will invest in it. Alright, and this is what's happening. This is why adhering it's stuck. It's committed, but no one wants to invest. Because no one wants to invest because they realise that the Aboriginals say no and they're saying no, it's not investable.
That's right.
They'll do their dough.
Do their dough.
Yes.
No, Queensland will do their dough. Because the first 2 years, Adani is going to pay Queensland $2 million in royalty,
Oh, wow.
but they're going to put in a $2 billion railway line to get the coal out to do it.
Yeah, well this is all the stuff we're doing.
Yeah.
35 banks.
Thousands of money.
35 banks won't invest in adhering. And so they're talking to the Aboriginal, and the Aboriginal people, fucking no, we won't throw straight spears at these people. Right, so it's a few of the others are talking about it. So the only way to really do this is to get a judicial review. It's got to go to the Royal Court. So all the contracts open up. Don't go to a federal court. Because the federal court says a contract, commercial contract. Within the contract, especially with the Aboriginal titles and the Marlborough connection, they can expose the whole consent determination dog box.
But that makes the High Court the same, essentially, doesn't it? Because it's still constitutional, which is corporate.
Yeah, but you don't need to go to the High Court. You can go to the Privy Council through the Supreme Court. This is an issue of sovereignty. The High Court's got...
That's the last remedy left.
No. You can go to the Privy Council through the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But you also can go to the Privy Council for the Church. Everyone's, or the Coroner's Court.
Yeah.
But just don't go and just leave the whole dollar money in, because everything we're doing is going to stir pound. Everything, it's magic. Right? So it's got the whole idea of what we're doing. We're creating something that's got none of this old paradigm bullshit money in it. Yeah. Right? A lot more easier. We can do this with a lot of dancing. Really. I mean, let's be wise about this and really focus on, concentrate on alternative ways of doing this. Now, by the grace of God, go on. And read your scriptures, read your ancestor history, and for fuck's sake, bring it out in paper and share it with other people who you are as a spiritual character. It's a lot more depth and beauty about you than you know yourself at present. Talk this to your family, share it with your kids, and it's a wonderful healing with your own family. Because they're stressing, surely. It works, trust me, it's a lot of fun. We can do this with fun, feeling. Just drop your pride. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.